Welcome everybody to MogTalk episode 197. Today is Saturday, February 8th, 2020. If you guys have not watched MogTalk before, it is a show based around the Final Fantasy XIV community discussing everything from Savage Raiding to Chocobo Racing. Today we will be talking about the most recent live letter and the points of interest we have with it, but before we get too much into that, I want to introduce everyone that's on the screen so you know who's here. So I'm going to go clockwise here, starting with Drak. Can you tell everybody who you are?
I'm Drak.
God damn it, do more than that.
You answered your own question, but
come on.
Just to double. I do YouTube and Twitch for Final Fantasy XIV stuff. I've been delving into more Monster Hunter stuff since that's out on PC now, so that's been a lot of fun. YouTube Drak Game Scene and Twitch Drakanous. So hi.
Okay.
I'm here.
Hey.
I run Nest.
You run Nest. You're their leader.
I have become the disappointed dad of that group, and I usually hate that term, raid mom, raid dad, but
I thought
everybody's just no. Tate is cursed. Anyway, move on.
Moving on. All right, and of course, a guest who has been on multiple times as well, who has recently been able to unfreeze and move his body. Bach, welcome to the show. Tell everybody who you are, dude.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me again, by the way, Frosty. Hey guys, I'm Bach. Bach Choy Can's my handle. Twitch, Twitter, Reddit, you name it. I'm just a loudmouth who likes to talk about Final Fantasy XIV, and Frosty likes to have me, so here I am. Hi guys.
Okay, all right. And I'll up that a little bit. Bach's a longtime friend of the show who has also done multiple in-game rating content pieces, as well as let me see what else. Multiple guides, multiple theories. He likes to write up stuff that is actually pretty intelligent, and I think a lot of people respect. So there you go.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. I got you, man. All right, Larry, go.
Oh shit! I'm Larry. Hello. That's it. No, I make dumb videos and streams when I can, and that's about me.
Okay.
I'm a casual.
Funny casual guy. Funny man. Make a joke.
Okay.
All right. Well, today, guys, I've got really awesome guests to come on and talk about some topics that came out of the live letter that I think is worth mentioning. From talking about nude mods to ACT to ocean fishing to FanFest to why maybe a lot of these primals are way more attractive than we remember them. It's going to be parts of the conversation. Is that how you? Okay, all right, I got you. But that's part of the conversation today. And before we start, I kind of want to just get a general vibe feel from you guys. Reading up or watching a live letter, I'm sure you came back with something. How are you guys feeling right now? Are you guys feeling good? Are you are disgusted with the modern community? Are you, excited for the raid that's coming? What are you taking from that?
I'm just here to play games, man. I'm just here to play video games.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I don't really have much of an opinion on the nude mod thing. It's like, do your own thing, but if you show it off, then that's kind of on you.
Okay.
But I don't know, the whole third party thing. I think I'm really excited for the Primals. Let me say, I'm really excited for Eden. I'm looking forward to actually progressing in a fight because we've been on Ultimate for the past 3 months, and we got to Brute and Cruise Chaser finally. But
right.
Oh my gosh,
it's a hard rock.
I'm so mad at you, Larry. Whoops is fine. He's a normal person. And then him and Tate together just create this cursed entity that should just not exist.
Yeah. The night before he starts raiding with him, I'm like, Whoops is a cool dude. He's like normal.
He's a normal human. Normal human. Exact words. Normal human.
Yeah.
And then
for our standards.
For our standards.
Yeah.
Oh man. They're fun. They're a lot of fun though. We're having a great time.
Okay, so but the main thing you kind of got from it leaving is like, all right, cool, new raid fights, and that's
open sea fishing.
Okay,
I'm really excited for that. Takes me back to the times from Selbina to Mara. That'll be great. That'll be good times.
All right. Bach, how about you, dude?
I'm really into raiding in this game. That's kind of like the meat and potatoes of this game for me. And the whole topic about like the third-party tools and how people use that to like help them raid and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really surprised that Yoshi P had so much to say about that, and like a lot of that's like really interesting to me. So I'm really glad that they addressed it, just because it's been such a big point of like controversy for on Twitter and everything, right? So everyone's been talking about it. So
Right.
It's kind of neat to kind of how things have unfolded over the last few months. The whole Arthur's incident and whatnot, and surrounding third-party tools and ACT. So yeah, no, that's cool. There's a lot to talk about for sure.
Absolutely. This show might be third-party tools, and that's it. We talk about ACT for 3 hours, and then we're done. But we'll see how it goes. Larry, did you pull anything besides that, or is that?
Well, I was definitely really surprised at Yoshi P going dad mode in the beginning. I'm glad that he did, though. So, but we'll talk about that. In terms of like content-wise, story-wise, I'm super, super, super excited. MSQ-wise, and then the raids too. Like, pretty much raiding is why I play this game. So,
I mean, I feel like that's a lot of people. Like, we're all really excited for like raids in general. This is the thing, and we've had this conversation, or I've had this conversation with people before about raiding and 8 people getting together to beat a boss. Like, you can go out there and you could do competitive PvP. You can go out and do a lot of different things in other games. And say, oh, I love this. I play Pokemon in a different game. I play RTS in a different game. But where else do you get 8 people together to do a PvE raid besides an MMO?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, like this whatever it is that you get out of raiding, like the feeling and the working together teammate aspect and all that stuff, it's very unique to just MMOs, I guess. So that's pretty much the main draw for me for this game. So usually when looking for content patches and stuff, I'm always looking at that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes. This is the first thing. I just want to go ahead and start talking about it. I mean, ACT has been one of these huge parts of like raider culture for Final Fantasy 14. But I mean, Yoshida finally came out and he's like, I got to talk about this. This is, something that's really starting to disturb us. Have we really gone too far with what people are doing with ACT and how it's affecting us as, I don't know, players of the game?
I would say that a lot of the things that are added in there are too far.
Yeah.
Are over the line.
Yeah. All right.
What I want to know what Bach knows.
Yeah,
about that.
I kind of want to ask you, Bach.
Yeah,
so, Bach, I mean, after hearing stuff that Yoshida has said about ACT, I know we've had these conversations before about how you like ACT, you like how it's a metric there, and you were talking about callouts and how you're like, oh man, callouts are great. Now, what are your thoughts after Yoshida said his piece?
Well, okay. The way I see it is it's like he's got to give an official stance. And the official stance can't be like, I'd be surprised if his official stance is, yeah, it's okay, just to just be discreet about it, right? Because that's how most people perceive it, and that's what most people are doing, right? Those who use ACT to for whatever reason, the rule of thumb is just use it, be discreet about it, don't do anything that could get yourself banned. And you're going to be okay, right? As long as you're not a dick about it, right? But I guess the official stance that they have to take is, yeah, it's not allowed. It's not allowed. It's not allowed, right? But he did. Correct me if I'm wrong. I read the translation, and I don't know how well it's translated, but he did mention that, suppose you have something that's just not allowed, right? According to their rules, but people do it anyway. And it brings them enjoyment. And then a lot of people are doing it. And because at this point, like ACT, so many people are using it, right? And if they're just like, hey, everyone who's using it, you're now at risk of being banned. And if let's just suppose hypothetically, if they could discipline everybody who uses it, they're losing a lot of subscribers, and they obviously want these people, and if these people are enjoying the game more because of these third-party tools, and if it as long as it's not causing any harm, then they have no reason to get rid of it, right? But their official stance is just, no, don't do it, it's wrong, it's against the rules, right?
No,
so yeah,
I mean, that's basically what he did. He came out and said this is how he felt, but he actually went into a little bit more description than I'm used to it. He started talking about the gray area, right? There is a gray area within the whole situation, and ACT does fall into that gray area because he was describing, oh, well, if you were over there and you're some crazy mastermind who could do it like a calculator, read the raid log as you're raiding, and you know go over there and add up all your stuff, it's essentially the same thing as the calculator, a third-party tool.
It's not altering game files; it's just reading what's already given to you.
Exactly.
The thing that I was talking about that is crossing the line isn't ACT. It's the things that are using ACT to do more advanced things that you don't get from just playing the game. So in my view, if it's something that is, I guess, in the more advanced way of it's looking ahead, or it's reading things that you don't have access to at the time visually, or something that the game provides to you, that to me is something that crosses the line of, okay, this is getting to the unfair point versus what other people do when they're just playing the game. Like being able to see your parse, that's fine. Like I don't care about that. But to me, seeing not triggers, but the advanced triggers of, like, say, like I think like Nisi is an example of not just telling you what Nisi color you're going to get, but instead it'll call out who you're going to go pass it to. That's an advanced trigger that is too far. And that's not just
for you. Okay.
Yeah, it thinks for you. So it, like a regular ACT trigger is just like, okay, you got red, you know? So you know you have red.
Is that a fair game?
I think that's
Would
fine.
you say that's fair game? Okay.
Because I mean, I've used triggers on nail quotes, and I think that's fine.
Right.
If people need triggers, then I think that's okay. But the advanced triggers are like it's doing a calculation and telling you who to go give it to. That's a little too much, I think.
So where would you guys draw the line? Would you say like if you had to draw the line somewhere, what steps into the realm of, you know, not okay, you know, versus okay? Right.
Drak, do you want to take that one?
It's really hard to say, because I think if you can achieve it with somebody in your party and it's just a program that's doing it, I think that's okay. Like, so for the triggers for callouts and stuff like that, sometimes I need that help because I just tunnel, or like we've been doing the fight for, you know, 2 hours and I'm just, my brain is going numb, which isn't hard to do. But like having somebody call out, I've died because Tate screwed with me once and was like, all right, go in. And I just followed like a sheep and died. I was so mad at him. But like having a trigger for that, if like you don't have comms or whatever, like technically Discord is a third party, you know, which is, I think is like kind of in that, I think he mentioned it.
Yeah, he discussed that. Yeah,
but as soon as you like start teetering on, it's kind of subjective, but having the game played for you, which like moving markers telling you exactly where to go and doing exactly this, like that's that, and seeing like AoEs, like not learning it yourself, having it like everything just kind of laid out for you, takes the fun away and it just defeats the purpose. So as soon as you start crossing into the defeating the purpose of even doing the content at all, like if you're just going in to get loot rather than beating the boss kind of a thing, if that makes sense, I think that's where I would say it's a line has been crossed. So personally,
I want to bring this up because this is actually one of the most important things that came out of this. Well, not the most important things, but it was a pretty crazy thing. Is he said, all right, well, now you can't do way markers during the fight because that's our way of preventing it from happening throughout third-party programs. And that was a huge part of progressing through T, which sucks because, you know, he did mention World Race and everything else. And so to me, I'm like, now it feels kind of bad because it's relating, you know, the World Race to like that kind of stuff, and that he's directly saying, oh, I don't approve this and I don't like it. But besides that fact, you're progressing on T right now, Drak. And so now no one in your party can do that versus when people could do it before. Are you bothered by that?
I don't know. Like I have people holding my hand a lot through it. Like they know the fight, they know where to go. And I mean, I remember the time when we didn't have markers at all. So I know that Ultimate is a very different beast than raiding in Coil. But there are other places, like as long as you have a north and a south, you can figure out, all right, just go east or west or figure out your location. I don't know enough of I've seen all of the fight.
Mhm.
I watched Svia's video on it. But like I don't know if I'll need that at this point, so I can't really comment on if I'm disappointed by it. I do think it's a bit of a stretch to not allow it, but some people in the class, that one person in the class ruined it for the rest of them. So which is kind of the idea of parsing in general. Because like another one of his comments, to skip ahead a little bit, was it's going to make things toxic. And you can't refute that because you see pugs, like the high-end community, very rarely toxic, in my opinion. Like they're always having fun. They're having a good time. They're using their parsers to improve themselves. They're not looking at other people and being like, you suck, you're garbage, never play this game, uninstall, like all that stuff. But then you look at pugs who may or may not be parsing, but skip soar or disband. You're not doing the absolute best in a pug group, then we're not even going to bother with you, kind of a thing. And I think that's like there's toxicity in the community at some point. So I think it's the safest for him as the developer to be like, we don't want to give the tool to do that kind of a thing. I think it's safer for him.
Because that's just what he doesn't want to do. He says, this is my game, and this is how I want it to be, and this is why I'm not going to do it. And for the last time, no. That's kind of how he came off with it. But Bach, I do want to follow that up with a question to you, is that markers, this automatic marker system, is something that people have done a lot within the Ultimate Raids now, and you probably have some experience with, at least.
I've seen it. Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
I mean, has it been in some of the groups that you've raided with? Have they kind of just automatically thrown it all out, and you're like, oh, that's kind of nice? Or
okay, well, I had my static for T, right? And one of the things we talked about as a group actually was, especially after the world first clear has already happened, and this became like a topic of conversation, and a few of us already kind of feel against it. And I was just like, yeah, I don't really want to use this automated marking thing, and I don't even think we really need it, right? But to answer the question, like just in my opinion, like everybody's going to have a different threshold as to what's fair, what's allowed, what people should be doing and shouldn't be doing. Where I personally stand on it, I mean, I gave it some thought, like not just within Final Fantasy, but just video games in general, and what cheating is, right? So I think if you're a third-party program, for instance, if it does automated inputs for you, basically the criteria to me, okay, tell me if you agree or disagree, but the criteria for me, what constitutes as cheating? One, if you're getting automated inputs, right? So like, for example, a bot or like an aim hack, like in a first-person shooter, as soon as your cursor goes over a hostile target, it goes bam, right? And it does the input for you, right? So that's cheating. Two, something that exploits a bug. This isn't really the case with the third-party thing, so I'm just going to move on. So if you're exploiting a bug, like spinning the boss around so it doesn't do anything,
right,
that's cheating because you're exploiting a bug. Three, gaining information that you're not supposed to have. So I don't know if you guys ever played a game like StarCraft, but they used to have map hacks where you can see. There's no fog of war. You're having access to information that you're not supposed to have, and that's something that someone in my group used to our group's benefit back in the previous tier. I think moving forward, I'm going to ask them to, we shouldn't be using this, but the way we use it, the fight Titan in Savage, right? He winds up his fist and he's about to punch one of the platforms. Well, the game can actually tell you there are ACT triggers that reads the data and tells you which one he's going to punch when you're not supposed to know that yet.
That's what I meant by an advanced trigger.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I was talking about. Like something that you wouldn't see, but it knows.
Yeah, you can't
supposed to be random, but it becomes not random. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of like within the same boat as like a map hack, right? In a first-person shooter game, you're getting information, or a wall hack it's the wall's supposed to obstruct vision, but you by removing the wall, you can now see what you're not allowed to see, what you're not supposed to see, right? So I think we use that to position the jails and stuff, and just because it was available, so somebody used it, we thought it was cool, and it did give us a benefit. It's not like going to clear the fight for us, but to me that crosses a line because we're getting information that we're not supposed to have, right? So that's kind of how I define it. And that going back to the waymark thing, if your third-party program is placing the waymarks for you, that's automation, right? It's doing inputs for you, right? It's not just making a sound that, some mechanics happening. It's literally putting down, using your inputs and doing that for you. So I think that's cheating. And I'm glad this is all that happened, because like amidst all the shit with ACT and what people are doing, I'm just like, man, I'm afraid that they'll find a way to just shut that all down and ruin it for everybody, right? But all they're doing is just the waymark thing. That's like a small sacrifice. So,
I mean, all they have to do is stop making the combat log readable.
That would.
I mean, that's
I
it.
hope not.
Yeah, if they did that, it would
someone will break it.
I mean, there's ways of encrypting. You could, but it would be a lot of work to make it happen, and it would be very obvious you're trying to do something that's not intended.
Yeah.
But
and for what benefit, right?
Yeah. Right now, they are free. It's very easy for them to try to put some sort of effort behind you not reading it, but you can open it and parse it with any program that parses a log. It's very easy to get the information from it. I could create something that simulates ACT with just a little bit of code. And so it's not difficult. They're intentionally letting us have this, or intentionally making it not difficult, is what I want to say, I guess, for us to get to it. But Larry, I was interrupting you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. The waymark thing was definitely a big surprise to me, and I'm, I guess, down about it too. Like it's definitely one of those things where, because of this third-party tool, those few people that used it ruined it for everybody. And I'm with Bach on that too. Like I definitely would say that because it's automation, that's cheating. Because if you take it the other way, if you weren't using the tool, somebody would have to take time out of their rotation and look around it and manually place those things. And that's something that you would do in other fights before, like back, turn 9 dive bombs, somebody was the dive bomb marker person, and UCOB 2, somebody is the nail dive bomb marker person. And that would always be like an extra skill that somebody in the team would have, and you would designate this person to do it, take a little bit of time out of their rotation, or maybe if they're really good, they could do it while they're doing the rotation. And that's just a skill. And having this tool removes that need and trivializes it. So because that's gone, I'm sad about that, because that's a feature that I use a lot. Not just for that mechanic specifically, but just like teaching new players. I'll find myself doing that. Like if I go into like a mentor roulette or something, for instance, and we're going into like Shiva Extreme, I'll be like, I'll put the A waymark down. I'll be like, go tank her there, because she's going to do the bow and you need her at the edge. So instead of like going over and jumping up and down, being like, tank her where I'm standing, I would just put an A down and be like, go tank her on A, and they'll move to A, and that's good. But now that option is gone for me. I can't do that anymore.
Yep.
So that's definitely losing a feature in the game now. Really sucks.
No,
yeah, that really sucks.
Absolutely, because I that's exactly what I wanted to talk about was T9 and putting waymarkers down. That was something that I did all the time.
Yeah, I also did that. That was like
I felt good. I was like, man, that was a skill.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely ruined because of people wanting to take advantage of it. And this is not going to stop. I mean, the fact that people are using these tools to try to make the game easier is just like they love doing it. They love breaking things. They love hacking in their own way to make something that they think is kind of cool. A lot of programmers, I think, Larry, maybe you can think about this a little bit too, is that it's nice to find ways to make things easier or better with something you created.
Yeah, it definitely is like in terms of, like the programmer, like they're like, oh, I discovered I can do this, so I'm going to build the tool to help everybody and save everybody time and be used, and it's useful for people. Like that's definitely a good feeling, I guess, on the programmer side. But from the game side,
absolutely,
you're trivializing things.
Yeah,
too much,
which is kind of maybe what the point of the game is supposed to be. It's just, I think it's not, I don't think it's nearly as nefarious as it may sound, but yeah, people who are creating these things are directly going against a request from the developer of the game at the moment. And I think it's kind of weird hearing all that. I mean, after hearing what he said, a bit, and I guess I'll ask you this first, Drak. After hearing a lot about what he said, will you actually make efforts to avoid third-party applications being in your party, and then like people are using ACT or anything like that, or are you just like, eh?
No comment. What they don't know won't hurt them. But I will say that I'm on the fence, and I saw a comment in chat about the whole his playing efficiently isn't a good thing or isn't fun. And that's something I don't agree with necessarily. I agree that there is a level that you can take it to that takes the fun out of it. Like if that's some people, that's their high score. That's what they want to do, and that's fine. And it's for me, the parsing has been a double-edged sword because on one hand, it is such a highly effective tool because if people can read it properly, you can know how to optimize your rotation so that you can then understand your class a little bit better, hopefully. So that you can go into fights and figure out how to get the most out of your rotation while doing those mechanics. That's the whole point, right?
And even for people, sorry to interrupt, but even for people who aren't the ones using it and like getting tips from other players, a lot of like I guess knowledge within the community is derived from a parser one way or another. So it's like, yeah, what's the optimal opener for this job? And someone will tell you what that opener is, or like, show you a thing. But and these, I guess with parsers, it in a way, it's kind of open doors for us to, like, sure, you could calculate potency values and stuff, but with parsers, it's kind of given people an avenue to improve, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's a good thing. I think that's helpful to the health of the game because the better people are at it, the more they can focus on that high-end content without having to cater so much to a casual base. Like you can still have casual content because I think everybody can still get some sort of enjoyment out of it. Either be a dungeon or crafting or anything like that. Like that can still be entertaining and fun. But at the same time, again, you have those people that take it too far that, and somebody said it in chat, and I agree that a lot of the time that toxicity is kind of covering up for their own lack of ability, or just that they want a scapegoat, and they will harass somebody over it. And it may not happen all the time, and I don't think that the Final Fantasy XIV community is toxic in general. I think it's one of the best communities I've ever been a part of. But there are those people out there, and it can really, like, I've had those experiences, and I'm just a soft soul anyway. But I've had those experiences in PF where I wasn't confident in a mechanic, so I would mess something up. But then people, instead of helping me through it, or just it's like, hey, next time do this, they would rag on me for it. And that's with so many people in the game with social anxiety, that's not healthy for the community. But it is healthy for people to know how to improve. So again, like I said, that double-edged sword where I think there's heavy benefit to it, but then you've got those few people that are going to ruin it for everybody. And that's what YoshiB has to focus on as the developer. That's the one that he's chosen to. And for Ultimate, you have to optimize. You have to figure out what you're going to do. And because if you don't hit those DPS checks, you fail. And they're pretty tight. So, it's somewhat contradictory. I kind of know where he's coming from. But I mean, you could say that if people can't figure it out on their own, then they don't deserve to be in the content. It's an argument you can make, but I still want to enjoy that content. I want to improve so that I can be at that level without that help. And so, yeah, that's
okay. Yeah.
I would be open to people using it if they decided to in our group, as long as it wasn't doing it for them. Right. We learn the mechanics on our own. We have that enjoyment of the game. We figure out our rotation. We figure out our strats on our own. We figure out how to deal with the randomness in the most effective way. That to me is entertaining, and I wouldn't want that. I don't want to lose that.
Yeah. What I want to say about it is I don't think any of us are really worried about ACT going away in terms of parsing, because YoshiP, this is not what YoshiP was talking about. No. YoshiP was talking about the advanced things, the tools, the extra tools that are using ACT. So parsing itself is definitely I would say it's healthy for the game because of what you guys were saying too. Just parsing itself is a tool for you to improve yourself, and because of that, the whole player base improves. And when the whole player base improves, we get better content that the devs are able to design. So I mean, look at like how far that we've come since our Realm Reborn days. The skill of the general player base is much higher, and part of that is because of ACT and being able to improve ourselves, being able to find the best rotations and all those things. So I don't think that's really a worry here about if parsing is going to go away or not, or if Yoshi P is like saying that that's bad, because I think even in this whole beginning part of the live letter, he was saying that parsing is the gray area part. He's just like, don't talk shit to people, you know.
Yeah.
The bad part is the extra programs.
Yeah.
And those I don't support any of those. So I agree with him on his stance of being like, please don't use these things.
Yeah. And I
like,
go ahead, Bach. Sorry.
Yeah. So, you know, I find that like opinions on this topic, on the whole topic of ACT in general, not just not just the extra stuff, but ACT itself, opinions on it vary so much. I mean, they go from like, you got some people saying ACT and parses shouldn't exist at all, right? Nobody should use it. If you installed it, you crossed the line. And then other people on the other side of the spectrum, they're like, this game is barely possible without a parser. It's barely enjoyable without a parser, right? Like, well, the way that they enjoy it, you know, usually you're going to hear that from like a hardcore raider or something, right?
Right.
Or someone who really likes to optimize and has a lot of fun doing that. So you know, you have opposite sides of the spectrum, and then a whole bunch of people in between. I don't know where you guys fall on that, but I really like what the status quo is. I don't think there should be an in-game part. Okay, the only reason I
don't think so either.
Like Yoshi P said himself, he just straight up said, people will use it in toxic ways, right?
Yes.
And that's already true with ACT, but anyway. But I kind of like the status quo, where the SE's official stance on ACT is like, no, it's against the rules, don't use it, right? But they won't enforce that on people who use it discreetly or use it responsibly, and not, you know, just use this shit on other players to judge other players openly and make them not enjoy the game, right? So then that way, this ACT thing that's against the rules, right? It's still providing a net positive for this game. If the people who want to use it responsibly and enjoy themselves more by using it, they can still do that. And the people who are using it to harm other players are being punished on, you know, I guess a case-by-case basis. And I think as long as they keep doing, and then, you know, every now and then if the community crosses a line and comes up with this shit like Paisley Park or whatever, and then they crack down on it somehow, like in this case, they made it so you can't move the waymarks. I'm okay with the way they're handling it. I mean, the status quo is really good. If you think about it, like even if they have an in-game parser, there's no way it's going to be as comprehensive as ACT. There's no way you're going to be able to upload everything on FF logs, track every single, you know, point of damage that you dealt with a trick attack on the target. It's not going to be that comprehensive. You know, Square Enix is not going to put any resources to be that comprehensive, right? So ACT, the way it exists is fine. Just don't fuck this up, right?
If they ever did put it, it'll probably just be like, here's how much damage you did, 1,200,000, and you're like, okay, exactly. Cool. What does that tell me?
So I think a big thing to go with this as well is that they care about the validity of the content, and the validity of the content, when you dumb it down and you do everything to make it cheesy and easy, it's not really as fun, right? People start to get disinterested. Right now, with parsing and with putting it up on the FF log side and everything else, people are even more interested. And so, the theory he used with it is that people made fun maps before in other games that people love, and they're community-driven things, and they're positive. They're positive for the game, they're positive for the player base, they're positive for everything else. Those are still, they have to kind of cast a net that's a gray area, which is where ACT falls into. But they also have to, when it gets too crazy and ridiculous, do something about it. And this is, I think, the opinion that he has, at least. And going out and actively making it so, like he talked about the part where you could see where the AoE was. You know, we saw that on Twitter not too long ago, where someone had a mod that would show exactly where the AoE mark, the AoE attack,
limit cut.
Limit cut.
Do we think that's real? I mean, Yoshi P did bring it up, So that made me think, oh, maybe it is real. But every GIF and like short clip I've seen of that, it looks so fake and edited that I can't tell if it's real. And if it is real, I hope it's not. But you think it is?
Absolutely.
Then yeah, that is definitely 100% cheating. Or do we all feel that? I would say that that's cheating.
Yeah, that's that, because they put AOE markers down if they want us to see it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if they don't put it there,
We don't want
shouldn't be there.
It hits that criteria where you're getting information that you're not supposed to have, right?
Exactly.
You're getting a visual cue that you're not supposed to have, that you normally wouldn't have, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, it was interesting to hear him talk about, because he hasn't really mentioned a lot on it, and this is something that affects everybody in some manner or fashion, and we still have to decipher this gray area to some regard. But I mean, there's some pretty clear-cut theories and concepts behind all of it. Of course, ACT is something that he doesn't support, but he's not. What is he going to do? He's fine with it. You guys can use it, because if it doesn't hurt anyone else, it's not going to cause the developers any issue. Yeah. I mean, that does also bring up the concept of back with Monster Hunter, I think, around the beginning of it, you could all use that was it the heavy bow gun or something, to all just constantly stun and kill monsters and destroy them without any kind of challenge and them doing mechanics. I can't remember what it was. Drak, do you remember that at all?
I mean, they're speedrunners. Team Darkside has a lot of really cool videos on how they optimize their damage for that stuff. I think that is, work that takes a lot of coordination to do with people, and so you have to understand the fight patterns too to position yourself in the right way. Monster Hunter is a whole different beast from Final Fantasy 14. That is simply what I would call cheesing, if anything, but not cheating. And if people don't find that fun, then they can pick another weapon. And Monster Hunter is not a situation where you come in with a weapon and people are like, "Get the hell out of here, dude."
Well, I mean, there is a lot of people cheating in Monster Hunter too.
People will cheat, but what you described, I don't think is cheating.
Yeah, that one,
because that's built-in mechanics.
But to bring that up a little bit more, sorry, I was talking with my friend about it. He was like, "Well, it doesn't matter because I'm not doing that. I'm playing the game as I want to, and people can do whatever the fuck they want because it doesn't hurt me." And so that really comes into that whole same conversation.
Because this is an MMO versus a multiplayer single player game.
Dude, that's such a good point. Honestly, I don't know why people are like, sometimes I like, you see a lot of opinions on Twitter, and a lot of people are just like, these people are getting an unfair advantage because they're doing this and they're doing that, right? And at some point I'm just like, why the fuck do you care? Okay, like I believe in fair play, right? Like I've been involved in competition pretty much like all my life. I've played hockey. I've refereed hockey. Fighting games, card games where it's really easy to cheat, and cheating is a big deal. And like fair play is a big deal, right? Like fair play is very important. And then you get into an MMO, and it's just like where's the competition? You're not playing against somebody, and you're not leveraging this unfair advantage over other people, right? I guess unless you're in a world race.
Yeah, it's just world race.
It's just
PvP.
world race, right? But man, God forbid somebody uses this program that played a sound, right? And there's like, oh, he used an ACT trigger, he's cheating, right? Like God forbid they reached fucking world 478th before we did, right? So it's just like, who cares? And I just feel like it's so funny that the way I see it is just a lot of these tools, I understand if they want to take it away because it ruins the integrity of the fight. A mechanic like fate projection, fate calibration, alpha, they design the fight in a certain way where you're supposed to look at your clone and see what it does. But if this program already tells you, oh yeah, this is the thing that you have, this is the debuff that you have, instead of watching your clone and following it to see what it does, that takes away from the integrity of the player against the fight. Never mind your group versus all the other groups, and who's gonna finish on page 37 on Frosty's world, spreadsheet, right? Like nobody cares, right? Yeah. But I think I'm more concerned with preserving the integrity of the fight more than whether or not this gives you an unfair advantage, in the race for world 500th, right?
Right.
I don't really care. If something makes this more enjoyable and more accessible to another player, it's like maybe they have difficulty knowing what number they have during limit cut, so that they have a thing that tells them. I'm okay with that. I mean, is it given an advantage? Yeah, sure. But is it something that, how does that hurt anybody besides, a few butthurt people who, they're just like, I had to learn this the hard way, right?
Yeah, easier to do it back in 2017. No. Anyways, I wanted to kind of just bring that up because I feel like we also have to keep that in perspective, is that in the end, you're playing the game and you're playing with who you're playing with, and you can sort of dictate what your environment is. And it's good to focus on that. I know it's important to care about, I have the perfect legend achievement. This other guy who has it didn't get it legitimately, but maybe he didn't get it legitimately because someone piloted his account and he didn't tell anybody.
Maybe he bought it.
I mean, it's one of those things, like, you can't really control, this stuff happening. Just focus on what you have and try to be happy with it.
Yeah.
But, okay, the other part of this, with third-party applications and everything else, I feel like we should just hit a little bit, because it's sad that he had to bring it up, and it had to be a key point of discussion.
Yoshi Pete, like, reading the literal translation, he felt like you could tell he really didn't want to have to be talking about this.
Right.
Like, just the way that he was talking, he was like, this is really awkward that I have to be addressing everybody with this.
Yeah. And
we get into the prawns.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so let's go back to FanFest in North America 2018 when we were sitting at the press conference and someone comes up and they start questioning him about, in-game prostitution and everything else, and how there's this whole ERP world of, craziness that's going on. And that was his one question that he got. He wanted to talk about that. It's like this stuff never goes away. People are going to keep trying to make this whole thing weird and awkward for the rest of us, because there's just a handful of just really creepy, weird people out there that are trying to make it as public as possible. So I don't know. I do feel like that, of course, his stance is going to be, no, don't do it, right? But how he can't completely control it. I think go ahead.
He's trying to protect the company too.
Right.
Because one of the things that he said was like, we don't want that to come back to us. Like, hey, what game are you able to do this? Or what are you allowing your players to do? Because it's illegal in some situations. I don't know when they're illegal. He said it. I'm taking his word for it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's not just don't do it because it's some sort of moral, you shouldn't do that. But they got to have repercussions on his team.
Because it could change the rating of the game, right? If they're like, yeah, sure, just go ahead and mod, just make everyone naked, right?
Right.
If it becomes super prevalent where everybody is doing it, like Second Life, for instance, you think of Second Life, you think of flying penises, right? Well, maybe not everybody, but when I hear, but anyway, because it's so prevalent of the modding in Second Life, you think of Second Life as like it's a modding game. So if in 14, in the worst case scenario, it becomes super prevalent, then other people who don't play 14, they just look it up and look up Final Fantasy 14 on Google Images and they see these images, then it's like, okay, what is this game? And it becomes the word of mouth social viewpoint of what Final Fantasy 14 is, and they don't want that. Mm-hmm. So it's very simply like his viewpoint is very simple of just, it's our resources and we're allowed to say, no, you cannot tamper with our resources. And
not that we could stop you, but
yeah. So like personally, like for me, like I don't care what people do in their own time as long as they keep it to themselves for those kind of things. Right. And that's kind of what Yoshi P said too, but he couldn't say that.
Well, he said that he can't stop you from being naked in your
he was like in your personal time you could be naked, but but don't post about it online.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point, Larry, is that when so many people do it, it just becomes associated, because what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you say Balmung?
Yeah, well, this is also mean, but yes,
that's I was already thinking about Balmung.
Right? So, like, it's just the reputation. And like as soon as you have a reputation, it's hard to shake that. it would be very hard to shake that.
So like for like think about it another way of like people that don't play 14 and you go out and let's say you meet like a new friend and they play video games and you go, oh, I play Final Fantasy 14, and their first thought is you play that weird game with all those naked penis cat girls.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
The naked potatoes. Yeah.
Like
Oh.
that could happen. Like that's what they want to avoid is that.
No,
I guess.
And I feel like that's what they should try to do, because we want to.
Yeah.
There is an image the game has to present for it to be successful, and I don't think being that thing that shows up in your browser saying, "Oh, play with this hot lady," and then you can have weird things, stuff that like the little weird stuff that pops up every once in a while. We don't want to have Final Fantasy be on one of those banners, right? We don't want it to be part of that whole world of community, because Final Fantasy is a huge franchise that's not what it is. It's not about well, we'll get into something else later, but it's people are doing weird stuff, and there is stuff where people are like, oh, well, this could even be child pornography almost, right? When you have some stuff that's going on, and then we're like, oh, how old is Ryan, right? Now they start having this conversation, and it becomes a whole weird thing that's legal issues that they have to deal with.
Yeah,
and of
that
course,
gets really, that's even more dicey.
yeah, and it gets really, really bad, and I am sad that he has to go through and do this. But I mean, I guess it just is what it is, and it's just part of his job is making sure that the game tries to retain its image.
Hopefully these people stop asking questions at the events too.
Yes.
I can only imagine how irritating it is for him just every time. But you weren't really like, what's your stance? Like, what's your actual stance on it? And every time he's just like, just keep it to yourself. But like, what do you, if somebody does it, what's happening to them?
Do you think it's cool? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why this time he had to very firmly be like, it's not allowed.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to offend anyone. He doesn't want to kink shame in whatever way. When he was trying to get around that a little bit, he was like, you could do whatever you want in your personal time, but please respect what we do with the game and don't do it. And I feel like I respect his opinion on not wanting that to happen. So I don't know. I mean, and then people are like, oh, well, reshade. Is that a problem? He doesn't. He's official yeah, he didn't bring it up, but of course, I don't think he cares. What's reshade's going to do, all right?
It doesn't affect anybody's play time. Like, it doesn't affect anybody else playing the game, so.
Right. All right. So, I mean, that's pretty clear cut. I mean, guys, be whatever you want in your own personal time, but don't try to, like, if you put up something that's debatably like illegal somewhere, that's on you, and please don't do it because we don't want to see it. Or most people.
But if you want to make your Vieira's hair longer, just whatever.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. So I feel like that's good enough. We don't really have to go into that too much. I think it was just worth mentioning because he was forced to bring it up because of the community making it so prevalent recently.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and this is just part of it, right? These people, they are pushing their limits. It's just what it is. I say these people, like their modders are completely different. But, when we're talking about pushing the limit on all these different resources and what we can and can't do, we're already past what they said we can do. And if you're going to keep pushing it, you're eventually going to get your hand slapped. And we've seen that happen in a lot of different cases. And so this is it. Guys, you push your limit. Stop doing it. Okay, so what else do we have? I think I'm ready to talk about rating. Are you guys ready to talk about rating here?
I like rating.
Yeah, rating. So this is actually a very good segue point because we're talking about using mods to do things that are lewd and everything else. But would you guys consider these primals being maybe sexually a little bit too much? Too many abs, too many loose.
I've been waiting for Ramuh forever. I just been waiting for. I expected him to be about 20 years younger still, but like it's still good.
He's got to be a daddy.
Yeah.
Like if he's 20 years younger, maybe he's not daddy. He's just like handsome daddy, but this is daddy.
So I mean, just think about it, just for a little bit, right? The primals, they were never really like overly attractive by any means. You look at
Garuda.
Okay, all right, Garuda, I guess so, but I mean, you look at Ifrit, you look at Ramuh, you look at Titan. You were just like, these are creatures, these are monsters. They're something.
That's you, Frosty. That's you.
Okay. Okay.
But
Okay.
I also want to say that I think it's really funny that, like all these other primals, they look so different when our character thinks of them.
Mhm.
But then Garuda, we get it perfect. Like it's pretty much exactly what she looked like, just maybe enhanced a little bit. And
Get
you're
more
like,
wings,
hey,
yeah.
Warrior of Light, how come you got Garuda? How come you remembered her so well?
That's actually a good point. Because I mean, now Ifrit and Ramuh and Titan all look like very muscular, ripped, crazy people. I'm like, I guess that's what our character remembered them as. We were attracted
guess
to these
so.
primals. I guess I don't
Well,
know.
Titan was this big buff dude with meat grinders for hands, so that's pretty accurate in my opinion.
Ramuh did do a whole lot of seducing in the fight. So
Did he?
That's
Yeah.
true. That is true.
he seduces
introduced it.
you.
How does that happen? I can't remember. What was?
You get charmed,
Yeah, you get charmed, and then he's like, "Come to my beard," and then he kills
and
you.
you walk to his beard, and then
Oh,
Strangles
that makes
you.
so much sense. So
Yeah.
the Warrior of Light remembers being seduced.
Yeah.
So made him a
Remembers,
daddy.
yeah, that's their image of Ramuh while in a seduced state. Oh man, I never thought of it that way. That's,
Yeah, the beard shrinks up, I suppose, and underneath the beard were all of these abs.
And then the rest of them,
This-
Ixion.
I guess so.
So,
More feet to step on you with. You're welcome, Larry.
Yeah, more toes. There's a lot of
More
toes this
toes.
raid here.
Bach, I mean,
Um,
I'm gonna ask you this because I don't think you're just like a pure raider person who doesn't think about this stuff at all. Do you think it's kind of weird that these characters are getting a lot of abs and stuff, or you're like, whatever, I don't care?
no, who cares?
Okay,
Sure,
sure.
man. I mean, like, I think video games in general, like they have eye candy for like, guys or straight guys, like, in spades.
Okay.
They're
okay.
scantily clad, women everywhere in video games. So like, man, give
us some daddies.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is peak
exactly.
performance. You may not like it, but this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
whatever. I mean,
Yep.
Okay.
yeah,
I love it.
everybody likes eye candy, right? So why
I
not?
guess so.
Well, I saw another picture too of like the full Ramuh model and how like the tail of the Ixion body has like this huge ass fluffy tail, and it's like, okay, that's where the beard went.
Yeah, it just
It went-
put it on the top.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe if they made like the NPCs and the characters more sexy, then players wouldn't have the need to make mods that make Lalafels naked. Right.
Right.
So what? Now they're gonna have like.
of Lalafell.
Just make the characters more sexy.
Yeah. So are they gonna start giving abs to Lalafels and they're gonna run around?
I'll play a Lalafell if they give us muscular options.
Would that even work?
just like you're just like a little like munchkin. You're like,
Not even.
Just like-
I don't think they can barely. They don't even have knees, Larry. They're just gonna walk out. Yeah, going straight at you with this
they
big
can't even put their arms
potato.
down.
Yeah, just straight out.
All their muscles, they can't even move their arms down.
Battle music. Everybody's going to war, and then Pippin just going straight as an absolute unit. 3 foot tall, 200 pounds.
I don't know.
man.
And Larry, we've already had this conversation when we talked about Nier a while back, and so you kind of know my opinions on it. I mean, like when I see something, I want to think about.
You're an old man, Frosty.
I'm an old man. When I see Titan, I want to think big rock, massive, beat the hell out of people. Not, oh, maybe this guy could take me out on a date.
It's like what Yoko Taro said, like where all these other game developers, well, they make like a sexy character and they'll like have all these lore reasons why the character is sexy, and then Yoko Taro's just like, I just like pretty girls, dude. I guess
Yeah,
for
that's
the
what he
Warrior
said.
of Light, I like daddies. And
I wonder if they're gonna make a lore behind why they all got turned into these like massively ripped and characters. I don't know. We'll see. But it is what it is. I don't care. People are happy. It's fine. It's just so weird to see it happen and something I'm not used to.
I mean, it works for their promotional materials too, because like, was it right before Heaven's, like Shiva hadn't come out, so it was right before 2.5. Ramuh was the fight that was coming out, or that was like most recent, but they switched the promotional materials to Shiva because Yoshi P is like, well, who wants to see an old man with a beard? but everybody wants to see Shiva, you know.
It's true.
So it's good marketing too.
Yeah. All right. Well, it makes sense. We won't stay on it too long, but because I just thought it was interesting to bring up.
You can stay on me too long.
That was all right. All right, Drak. All right.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable now.
Yeah, I feel a little bit weird right now.
I mean, you can come too, Larry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave you out.
Thank you. I'm feeling more comfortable.
All right. Fights, raids.
Mechanics wise,
information that we have so far is that we kind of get 3 bosses that we've seen, all right? We got Ramuh, obviously. We have Garuda Ifrit, and then we have birds. Right?
What do you guys think?
Wait, what's birds?
The light in the darkness thing?
Oh, okay. That thing.
Yeah.
I think that'll be the first fight, and then
I do too. Yeah.
Ramuh and then Garuda Ifrit together, and then I'm hoping for Shiva as the last fight, because I think she would be a really good final fight. Mm-hmm. She's like a really big character for us.
I'd be happy just with the remix of her song.
Well, we already
same.
Here's the thing too, right? Last year we had 2 kind of on lore, not repeat stuff. We had Eden and we had the Voidwalker. Then we had 2 Primals. Mm-hmm. We've seen 2 Primals so far, or 4, I guess, in a way.
So you think it won't be Shiva?
Maybe Shiva's next tier, man. I don't think Shiva's going to be this tier.
I would really like her to be a final fight, but
I don't think she'll be a final fight. She'll probably be like third would probably be more accurate, I think, in the next tier. But I don't think in this one.
Who knows?
So then you think the 4th fight would be original?
Has to be. Not it has to be. Sorry. I think it
makes the most sense, right?
Yeah, it makes the most sense.
I kind of want the Primals out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other point. Is like, have we not had enough Primals by now? Like, we've seen
can't be too much for me.
I don't mean in that way. I love fighting the Primals. What I mean by out of the way is they're not the focus of the story of Eden. They're just like a side thing of like, okay, we need to fight the Primals to
restore the elements or whatever.
Yeah. But there is a story to Eden, and I kind of want to get to that. So that's why, like, I'm hoping that Shiva is the final fight here for that reason.
So that element primal thing isn't gonna be all 8 fights. Yeah, all 3.
You want the story to be front loaded.
Yeah,
I could get behind that. I hope. I mean, Shiva's the last primal, right?
So she would be the Realm Reborn.
Yeah, she's the last one. So no Mog. I think they'll have it. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think they're just going to move on from that part of the story in the next tier. I think that makes the most sense. I hope that's the case. Shiva's my favorite primal. Well, I think Titan is like the most iconic primal to Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Right?
To 14.
And Shiva is also really, really popular, right? So I hope it's Shiva.
Yeah.
Could leave the next tier for Gaia specifically, like all that lore around her, because we haven't seen anything about Gaia yet.
We're definitely going to see her and everything with the Evanescence stuff that she's doing and
Evanescence.
Yeah. I mean, really though. I mean, that's kind of what it is. They're going pretty hard with the kind of goth setup and everything else. Yeah.
Well, she's the Oracle of Darkness, dude. She's got to be.
It makes sense.
Goth.
Yeah. But I'm waiting for the hammer to come up because that was a big thing within the Fan Fest, as they were showing pictures and she had a hammer, and they were talking about it a good bit. So I don't know what they're gonna have. I'm glad it's a surprise. It's very different than the WoW raid stuff where you kind of know all this stuff. It's kind of interesting that we see all this stuff the day of, but
yeah, that's awesome.
Because to be honest with you, in the last tier, we knew all the fights because sort of we knew the fights in normal before Savage came out. Is what I mean. Here we're gonna see it all at the same day, so it's kind of interesting. So you guys are thinking maybe Shiva for sure, though.
No, I wouldn't say for sure. It's just what I hope.
Okay.
Yeah. I can get behind that. That's fine.
All right.
Also, just because like lore wise, like we have such ties to Isael and like the whole Dragon Song War and all those things are like all tied to Shiva. Mm-hmm. So there could be a lot of cool stuff in that fight.
I didn't personally think that she would make it in, just because sometimes it's its own element, but other times it's considered a dual element. like water wind together, and also that Shiva was more of an iconic figure rather than a primal. Like, yeah, she ended up being a primal, but she was kind of like a synthetic primal because she used Ysael as the medium. I'm not saying that she still can't as it, but that's why I didn't expect Shiva to be a part of it.
That reminded me about the elements. Isn't there like another because there's an element for each calamity, right? And we've had 7 calamities. So I think the last calamity was darkness, right? And that was Bahamut. So are we gonna fight a darkness element?
That's Gaia, right?
Would that just be Gaia?
I would think that would just be Gaia.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question.
Sure.
So the fight that you have to fight 2 of them at the same time is Ifrit Garuda. Why is it Ifrit Garuda? If it had Ifrit Shiva, that would make sense because fire ice that thing, right? Like, they're kind of opposites of each other. But instead you got Ifrit and Garuda. Are they dating or something? Like,
they're dating.
You guys like keep up with like Eorzean tabloids or like?
Yeah, I was gonna say fire tornadoes. Somebody on the dev team wanted fire tornadoes.
It is no. Wind and fire are opposite in our game.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why. Like I remembered it because of Eureka. It's opposite. So,
but when you
I see.
Wind makes
it's not like Pokemon
fire,
rules.
like stronger, though, right?
Wind is strong against fire.
But if you do wind against the fire, it just spreads it. It makes it even more. It fans the flame, right?
That's real world. This isn't Final Fantasy.
Okay. Isn't is the color wheel not on the opposite end? It's complementary.
I don't know.
They could be doing that. All right.
I don't know, dude. Wind is strong against fire. Fire is strong against ice.
Okay.
That's our wheel.
It is kind of odd. I don't know. Seeing both of them together, I think they were just like, well, we need to start fitting some of these together. I think at some point in the story, what's going to happen is like, hey, we need wind and fire, but we can't wait for you to do both of them. Just imagine both of them and knock them out real quick.
That's the other thing is like, that's what I mean by they're getting the primals out of the way by putting them into 2. And I think wind plus fire could be cool. Like actually, like what you were saying is wind would just make the fire stronger. So we could get like, flame tornadoes.
Yeah, he throws a fireball up, a tornado hits and spins it. You gotta dodge the bouncing fire tornado. So it could happen. We'll see. I mean, we're gonna have to see charges and feathers, and what else would you think we would see in the Ifrit Garuda fight? Think we'll see nails?
Some people are thinking
fusion.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
They did a really good job with Perfect Alexander.
Okay.
So I would like to see more.
The thing is, like, the Ifrit fight has always been kind of easy, like mechanics wise. There's never been anything too crazy from Ifrit fights. Like, even like the ultimate Ifrit is kind of the only hard part really is the nails.
Yeah.
Like just killing them in an order so it dictates how he dashes.
Right.
Garuda has a lot more interesting mechanics.
True.
Maybe her ads will show up. Chuparna, because I like, at least for me, like if I was thinking of what the Warrior of Light would remember, the thing I remember the most from Garuda is the ads. So maybe they would show up, but maybe not.
It's so hard to base it on that too, because apparently we remembered a 4-wheeler for a Titan, so it's just like
yeah, that's true. Never mind. But like just trying to think of like iconic things, because like for Titan you got the iconic landslides and
bombs,
but like
and stuff.
super, and the bombs. What did they do for Leviathan? That was pretty different though.
No,
there's a lot of moving you around.
Yeah, it was just more of dodging him charging and getting into certain spots and avoiding the waves.
Like original Leviathan was kind of just playing on the whole platform moving, tilting. Was
and
a lot
2
of
heads. That was a big thing too, right? Attacking 2 heads with vulnerability differences. But that wasn't part of Leviathan. But it was a key part of the original fight. So I don't know.
Could see like one of them, like Ifrit laying down puddles and Garuda trying to knock you into them with the wind,
or fanning them to spread it.
Yeah,
in Garuda you had to hide behind those pillars. or a Mistral song. Maybe you hide behind the nails, wait for it to go off, and then you kill the nails or something like that. I don't know.
It can't be too complicated. They have to be pretty.
Well, it's a third
straightforward.
fight. It could be fairly. It could have enough in a third fight.
Technically,
They said it was going to be more
my
because they were like everybody's figuring out Eden's Gate, so this one's going to be a lot more intricate.
okay. Well,
I love fights like that though. When you got like two things to fight that are like of like equal importance. It's not like, you know, a boss and his like crony. It's kind of like two equal bosses.
Is it
kind
two
of like,
bosses at the
whole
same
time.
time?
at the same? I don't know if it's the same time, but you know, it could be like a tag team thing where it's like this guy goes in, then you fight it for a bit.
Like the
They
Street
leave,
Sharks
and then the next
from
guy comes in,
Some
and then
of
you
the
fight both at
footage-
the same time or something, right?
Yeah, some of the footage had them both on the arena at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and their abilities like interact with each other or something.
yeah.
We'll see. They could be. There's a lot of stuff that they could do with it and be pretty creative.
Because I thought they nailed it out of the park with the in T with the Brute Justice Cruise Chaser phase. That phase is awesome. Just
Yeah,
fighting
that
two things at the
very
same
cool.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to this fight.
It depends
Especially
on
as
who's
a
developing
summoner.
it. Because we've seen such drastic differences in the development of some bosses. So I don't know.
I think they said that like a different developer did each fight in this tier.
in the
And
previous one,
different
or this
developers
one?
from last tier.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this new tier, a different developer did each fight,
Okay.
is what I heard. And then and they're different developers than from last year.
So there's a good chance one of them's going to suck at least, right? At least one.
There could be.
Right? There has to be one.
If one sucks, I hope it's the first one, if anything, because I really don't want Ramuh to suck. Because Ramuh was one of my favorite EX primals in a Realm Reborn.
Ramuh's going to be the first one, I think.
I hope not, because his mechanics are so interesting and he deserves to be a little bit harder of a fight.
So
I think
in my opinion, it's going to
Yeah.
be Ramuh, Ifrit, and Garuda. Then the
Dark
bird
Death Light.
form of whatever is going on with Gaia. Then Gaia's more advanced form, maybe at the end of it. Because we did 2 non-primal fights at the beginning of the other one, and then we start up and go up in the elements as the next 2 fights. Then the next 2 fights after that will be elements again. Then we actually can start fighting Gaia and everything else. But
Should the next tier then?
maybe there's something bigger and badder than the Oracle of Darkness that we got to worry about. So I don't know.
yeah, there could yeah. I really hope the bird is the first fight. I really don't want Ramuh to be the first fight. He
Okay.
deserves more mechanics.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah, we'll see.
that's the order that they showed them, but I don't know if he'll actually be the first fight. I'm with Larry on that one. I want him to.
Yeah, same.
Like, it's not really about what I think, it's just what I want. And what I
Yeah.
want is
Okay.
that.
Thunder Daddy deserves more.
Yeah. 'Cause, like, my favorite thing about that fight was like you don't just tank swap. You have to interact with the environment to get the buff to be able to tank swap in the first place. So it just added that extra layer. And then like meanwhile everybody else had to clean the orbs. And since we know that the orbs are in the fight,
So many orbs.
yeah, actually, there were a lot of orbs.
So
that
many
came up
orbs.
Really quick. So I don't know. There could be a lot of cool stuff. I hope it's a little different than what they did in Extreme, but I'm looking forward to that one the most.
What will
of the 3.
Ixion bring to it? I mean, I actually never did Ixion out in the world.
Yeah, what does
Oh.
Ixion even do? Like, it doesn't even appear on my monitor when I
Does it, like,
fight
dash?
it. So.
Does Ixion do dashes?
I would
Because if
assume.
so, that would make sense why the arena is a rectangle
Yeah.
when it has like 4 lanes. So he could like, do dashes.
I forget. Yeah, honestly, I don't even remember doing Ixion. I have the mount. I don't remember what happened.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to bring some justice to Ixion. I mean, I'm guessing we're going to walk in and be like, do you remember what's for light? And he was like, well, I remember these 2. I don't know which one to pick. And it just merges them together. And that's what you get. But,
That's what happened with creation magic with Amarat. Like whenever they were like thinking of something else would fly by and they created something else. And that's how like they made a chimera or something.
right.
So yeah, it works
Okay.
the same way, I guess.
Okay. Let's see. I think there's not really too much more to discuss with the fight because we have the information about what they are and we've seen a few things. And I think he did a preview on Ramuh, which is why I think it's the first one. Because I don't think he would preview something that wasn't the first one. But
Oh no! I really hope not.
yeah, so
You might be right though. That is plausible.
yeah. Okay, so raid's coming up soon. We're all excited for it and everything else. There is something that you wanted to talk about, Drak, that I'm just gonna go ahead and throw in here with it all because I really don't care as much because I haven't been looking into it, which is ocean fishing.
Oh yeah, I did not much to talk about. I'm just excited for it.
You're just
you know.
excited for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's cool. It's straightforward. You get on a boat, you do your stuff, and you can leave at any time. Like it's just an extra thing to do with fishing. I don't know what the score is for, but I don't know if there's certain prizes or something at the end that you can exchange points for. That'd be neat. It just seems relaxing. You're out on a boat and it's going fast. And yeah, it'll be a lot of. I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay. Box, you're not like much of a crafter gatherer kind of person, are you?
I like crafting. Like as far as gathering goes, let's see. I have miner at level 2, and the other 2 are not unlocked yet.
Okay.
So I don't touch gathering at all. But as far as crafting goes, yeah, but I'm glad that they're like expanding on it. I mean, this game has like one of the best like crafting systems I've ever seen in an MMO. So
well,
yeah, I'm glad that they're just taking it and doing even more.
when I think of crafting gathering, I think of it as being a small part of the game, just something that's kind of there. And this is just my general thought of MMOs, I guess, is that I always think of as like, oh, it's this cool thing that you can kind of do on the side. And Final Fantasy, went pretty far with it. They did a really good job with it. But let's just go over some of the new things that's coming in. We have the Ishgard Restoration. We have Diadem. We have new beast tribes, which I'm assuming has something to do with crafting and gathering. They usually have something in there about it.
For gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah, gathering.
Okay, gathering. And then you have crafting gathering updates, then you have ocean fishing, then we have parts that go with sky steel tools, and in the last patch we had more crafting stuff. I feel like there's more focus on crafting gathering than literally any other part of the game at the moment. No?
I don't know if it's the more focus than anything else. Like I think that the raid content and story and stuff definitely still takes priority.
Well, yeah.
But the crafting gathering community is huge still. In Final Fantasy 14, there are websites about it. There are crafting rotations. There's optimization with your gear and just a whole bunch of stuff. And there's a big community behind it. Just as I'm sure there's quite a dedicated group to PvP, even if most people don't see it or hear about it. It's there, but there's a bunch of stuff and resources and people putting a lot of time into.
There's not much for this expansion. Saying with PvP.
I mean,
but going back,
I still feel your pain that they're a year, 2 years behind keeping it relevant, because even things like the Nadam being added as PvP should have been done in Stormblood. There's no debate about that. It should have been done in Stormblood, but no, Heaven's Ward was done in Stormblood, and now Stormblood's done in Shadowbringer. So all the stuff that's kind of passed is now. I think that it would benefit more if it was given proper.
Absolutely, if it was given some more
events.
attention and proper attention and some sort of respect towards the community that's been working on it. I won't go on that rant. Anyways, so
but I think that the crafting gathering side of things. They're just basically giving them the alternate versions of the content that PvE people have. So upgradable weapons and more customization and more end game stuff to work on, stuff that people like, just more goals than just making money with it. So I think it's
huge
cool
right now. I mean, I feel like this is a lot. And sadly, this is just not a part of the game that I play. It's not a part of the game that I focus a lot of attention on. And that's fine for me, because if I, don't want to do it, I just don't do it. And I just go do something else. And I'm still happy because I'm still doing something I like. I'm not forced to do it. Yeah. And so it's a trend with Final Fantasy 14. This expansion has been improving the crafting gathering and making that a pretty big part of the game. But I guess if people are happy, they're happy. No one's upset about it, right? No one's can be like, oh, they're adding more crafting stuff. I'm so sad and angry.
No, I mean,
if they add more PvP stuff, you'll be like, oh, that's fucking why they doing it. But I mean, if it's like crafting and gathering, it's okay. All right.
I mean, I'm personally fine with PvP stuff being added. I want them to fix it. But I mean, same thing with kind of like with the state of Relic is that it was such a flop last time that it's probably just they need somebody who's passionate about it. Again, like I said with PvP the last time we talked about it, they need somebody with passion and a vision for it so that it will actually work.
Are we talking about Relic?
Yeah, Relic's coming out in
I love Relic.
0.25.
Do you?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I haven't
I'm a
even thought
masochist.
about it. Yeah, to be honest with you.
I love Relic. I do every Relic. Well, I don't mean I do every Relic for every job. I just mean I've done
Every tier.
I always do Relic. Because it's something like, for me at least, my viewpoint on Relic is it's healthy for the game because it gives you something to do in the meantime, like in downtime, and it's something to grind to. I really like and excited that this new tier that they're talking about for the Relic tier is like going back to A Realm Reborn, the very first A Realm Reborn Relic.
Okay.
That's freaking awesome.
That is awesome because that's when it was, I feel like, best. We're not having to
very
go back to
first
Diadem
one.
for it, so it's good.
We don't talk about Diadem.
we don't want to talk about Diadem, no. I mean, they're using the map, apparently, for gatherers, so...
Yeah, they're just keeping it exclusively to gatherers and giving gatherers a laser bazooka. that was funny.
That does like 1 billion damage.
I love it. It's like, remember, you're still a gatherer, though. Like, then don't give us a bazooka, Yoshi P, if you didn't want us to use it.
It's a freaking railgun.
It's so cool.
I haven't even noticed this. I just now looked at the question sheet. There are some questions in here. I mean, there's still more stuff I want to talk about with like FanFest and everything else. But I'm going to throw a question out here because somebody is asking questions here. Okay. Well, no, that's too easy of a question. Nope, that's too easy of a question. Okay. Did Bach get his jacket dry cleaned for the show yesterday?
Wow. No, I didn't.
No? Okay.
Why is everyone so obsessed with there was like a selfie thing on Twitter, so I posted a selfie.
Right.
And then half of the comments on it is like talking about my socks because my socks are visible in the selfie. So like I wear a jacket. Wasn't anyone talking about like Larry's shirt or
because
Drak's chair?
It's not something that's like you would look at and you'd be like, well, this is different than before, right? And so Drak, there's nothing you see with what's going on with Drak right now that's abnormal, besides Drak maybe. And then there's nothing going on with Larry besides, same thing. He just has this white room behind him. I just have this green thing behind me. And we all just look like normal guys. You look fancy with a jacket on. That's something notable, right?
Yeah,
I guess.
Okay. And if you take a picture, a selfie, and your socks are really nice with like crossed pattern on them and everything else, it stands out.
Those are some nice socks.
Yeah.
Whatever. As soon as I got in the channel, Frosty's like, "What kind of socks are you wearing, Bach?" Tell you what. I'll show my socks. Whatever the socks I'm wearing. And if somebody
don't show your
if somebody
feet. We're gonna
subs,
get banned.
no, if somebody subs or gifts a sub to Frosty
no.
in the next 5 minutes, I'll show my socks. I'll flash my socks.
Okay. Hey, Gorillion's here, so you already messed up. The next question, we'll go to it. A lot of stuff is about third party, which we can go back to at some point. I guess we'll hold off because there's a lot of follow-up questions on some of the topics that we aren't currently on. There's not a lot about the rating yet, which they may come. But let's go ahead and just talk about this next step then before we get into the questions, which is FanFest, of course, which is the big thing that I think right now, ever since we all know it's coming. We all know it's here. Yeah. We're just waiting for the information, right? So we can book hotels and do everything else. And now they announced they're doing the first FanFest outside Las Vegas, which is a pretty big deal. Are you guys kind of excited for San Diego, or would you have rather it been somewhere else?
Love San Diego. I love San Diego. Okay. I'm happy about it. I'm not looking forward to driving through it, but I'm going to be happy to be there. Mm-hmm. California traffic sucks. But as long as we're not going to LA, that's fine.
Right.
I can deal with San Diego drivers.
Oh, yeah. I went to the second TwitchCon, the only time I went to TwitchCon at all. And it was over there in the same convention center, I think. And it was okay. It was nice. It's going to be weird not having casinos around. And having activities immediately there, because I think there's just like there's the quarter that's there, and so you could do like various different restaurants and bars and stuff.
I mean, just San Diego has a bunch to do in general. You can go straight to the beach, or you can go to the piers, or there's a bunch of stuff to do. Yeah,
there's a zoo, Bach. Have you looked into going to the zoo?
I want to go to the zoo. Okay. It's like world renowned. I mean, how can you go to San Diego and like not think about the zoo?
I've never thought about it, but now I guess I
I've
will.
never been to San Diego.
Have you not, Larry?
So, nope.
I haven't either. No, I have.
Or
I have.
California. Wait, no, yes, I have. Never mind. That's a lie.
Yeah, we were in San Francisco.
I've been to San Francisco and I've been to LA. I haven't been to San Diego.
All right, Bach, show your sock.
Oh my god!
You have to take it off your
how?
foot though.
Actually, you have to show your socks 5 times.
On my foot or like
Not
how
on
do
your
I do
foot,
this?
off your
I don't
foot.
want to. I don't want to take the camera off. Like
Just
Okay,
hold
I
it
wanna
like
just-
right here. Yeah, just no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't show your foot. I don't know. Twitch has rules against feet for some reason.
Don't show your foot.
Really, actually,
Yes.
Something weird. I
you're
don't know.
joking.
I don't know what it is, but
He's joking.
there's
We're
been
not
weird
joking.
stuff. There's weird
I
stuff.
was just gonna flip over and stick my feet in the air.
No,
Okay.
don't.
Don't do
Don't
it.
do that.
Don't do
Oh
it.
my
Don't do
god! What?
You would have to take your sock off and then show the
Take
sock.
your
Sock off.
Yeah, and then show the sock itself. Maybe,
Okay.
and then that would be like the okay. That is a
Well,
very.
this is really
noticeable-
lewd.
This is a very noticeable coloration of a sock. All right,
All right,
so
are you guys satisfied? Are you
Absolutely.
satisfied, Gorillian?
yeah, I think he is.
Okay, all right.
It's a
Oh,
very
yeah.
nice sock.
That is a really awesome sock. I honestly would talk about your socks if you took a picture right now of you, a selfie, just like, hey, look at my nice jacket. But your socks were multicolored. I would talk about the multicolored sock. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, well, I hope you
Beautiful.
got 5 subs. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No
I'll
problem.
send you a check.
Thank Gorillian.
I'll send you that check, man. Okay, so I guess the other part. Okay, FanFest, going there. It's a pretty cool place. You guys are all going.
Mhm.
Bach, this
Yep.
is the first one that you're planning to go to.
This is the first one, yeah. You know, I wanted to do the Vegas thing. I missed out on the last two fan fests.
Mhm.
First one I could have went and I just didn't, and then I regretted it. And second one I couldn't. So this time I'm going for sure. Well, we'll see, but yeah,
90%,
I'm like 90.
right?
I'm like 90%. You never know what can happen, right?
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
like yeah, I'm planning on going this time. I kind of wanted to do the Vegas thing, but San Diego's okay too. I mean, I heard one issue they had was like the convention center they had in Vegas was too small, so they couldn't accommodate as many people.
Well, it's in a
Mhm.
So
casino.
maybe
Yeah.
in San Diego, maybe they can have a bigger fan fest. I don't know.
What are they go? I can't even
Here's like
imagine what
that.
they're going to
The
do with bigger fan
The
fest.
convention center is huge, but it just matters of how much of it they get.
Yeah, exactly.
So
They're not taking the whole thing up. There's no way
Yeah,
they're going to
they-
take up the whole thing.
Yeah, but like yeah, or you know how much space they could get compared to like Vegas.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean I'm fine with anywhere. Like people were speculating like New York or or LA or whatever, but I'm okay with San Diego.
Well, the thing is everybody was hoping they wouldn't do it on the West Coast because it's already been in Vegas so many times. They were like, well, let's venture somewhere else in the U.S., right? Give other people who might have issues getting plane tickets a chance to go.
New York would have been cool.
New York would have been cool. Anywhere on the East Coast, I think, would have been a good, cool choice to pick. But I don't know. It's hard to convince them to say, hey, you have your office in L.A., now go completely across the other side of the United States and do everything there, because then they can't really drive things out, I guess, or it's like more expensive to get stuff out, and so it's weird. So I don't know. Logistically, it makes sense for it to be on the West Coast. I just don't know. I'm sorry for everybody who's over on the East Coast.
Every time for like the 4th time in a row now, it's on the West
last
Coast.
8 years.
Yeah.
That's all right. I know you guys were vying for Arizona.
Put it in
Would've been
Arizona?
nice.
No,
That would have been nice.
Drak was telling me how he wanted it. And
We have a nice convention center.
we do.
Very
there is
spacious.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Very
good.
nice.
But I think it would cause some problems. We'll see. We'll see. And hopefully I'll be there too, and we'll have a good time. We can all meet up and have a on-site MogTalk.
An on-site MogTalk.
Yeah.
That's fancy.
That'd be fancy. Real fancy. I think that's all there really is to discuss. The FanFest schedule is like, talking about FanFest, it's really just November, December, and then February, right? So it's actually a lot quicker than it was before because they put the JP FanFest at the tail end of last go round, but then they're making it kind of quick this time.
Yeah, like between them. you
Yeah.
mean?
No,
Yeah.
like Tokyo, I think they wanted to make that like a big final, celebration, and that's why they had the JP Fan Fest at the end of the last one. So I don't know. but I don't think it matters in the order at all. Just NA's always going to be first. Always NA first. Go ahead, release the expansion, go forward.
Yeah, we get the expansion reveal.
Yeah. That'd be so weird if they didn't do that in NA, but
I'd miss it. I would miss it.
It's a cool vibe just to see that trailer for the first time. I mean, you'll see the second half of the trailer later on in a different one, but it's not exactly the same.
It's not the same. Yeah, seeing like what the especially like expecting, because at the time we were kind of expecting, like for Shadowbringers, we were pretty much thinking, yeah, we're gonna go to Garlemald next. So especially when it's a completely different setting than what you were thinking, it's like, oh wow, this expansion is completely different.
Yeah. What is the next expansion going to be on? Do we even have any idea where the store is going to? Is Garlemald? Is that it?
I don't know. We can't. After this past expansion of being like everybody was sure it would be Garlemald, now I'm just predictions out the door. We don't know yet.
We're going to the moon.
Yeah, Bach. It follows the story and lore a lot, so you know where we're going next, right?
No idea.
Moon, last zone, moon.
I'm sorry.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right, let's go ahead. By the way, guys, I will do some questions here, and then we'll talk about a few other topics. But let's look at one of these questions from a guest. What will Frosty do now that Bach's showing socks will get him banned? I don't know what I'll do if I don't have my channel anymore. Who knows? This actually. Go ahead.
What about the job changes? How like they kind of changed their stance on it of how
they were super detailed this time.
Yeah, how they didn't want to go super detailed anymore, and like I actually missed that. I really liked when they not necessarily, they never really went super detailed, but they did outline things a little bit more than what they did this time.
Yeah, I mean,
they like pulled away from that.
I don't know. I feel like in the end, it gives everybody the same. It doesn't matter if they go detailed or not detailed. It makes people either upset, I guess, a little early, like prematurely upset. But it doesn't really change anything because everybody has the same information. But so
I like the speculation part.
Larry, you can just, it's that anticipation. You hear the Glock being loaded in the background as it's being aimed at Summoner.
Oh yeah, no, I'm getting destroyed. My reaction to that is pretty, Eva summed it up in a tweet. Actually, let me, I have that. Hold on, I'll link it.
Okay.
Eva summed that up in it. Oh, it's deleted. I got banned. Okay.
Ask a moderator.
Please allow me to post a link, please.
All right, hold on. Let me see.
No, I got you.
You know what's funny? I think Eva is a mod and you're not.
Okay, Eva, post the link. But yeah, it was basically like a picture of FoxClown being like, fuck, they caught us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They know that Summoner was buffed too much.
Yeah.
Because of parsers, you're welcome, Yoshi P.
You're right. If parsers weren't there, Yoshi, you're right.
You're right.
We would never know Summoner was overpowered.
Yeah. I don't support parsers anymore.
I bet you his whole test team all has ACT installed.
Yeah. You know.
To balance the jobs.
Oh, geez.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's true, Bach. They probably do. It'd be interesting to see, but I don't know.
Oh, well.
With the job changes in general, there is some stuff in there that was mildly interesting. We won't go with the PvP.
Another thing. No, sure. Another annoying thing, not just also about Summoner, is okay. So they
sure.
Hold on, I need to cut. Samurai, the meditate thing, right? So you get stacks of meditate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get 3 stacks, and that's how you know you can do Shoha. And the only way to know if you could do Shoha is count how many stacks you have in your buff bar, right? Summoner has the same thing. Summoner's got Ruin Force stacks, right? And the only way to know how many Ruin Force you got is look up in your buff bar. So how come they're adding to the job gauge on Samurai how many meditate stacks you have, but on Summoner they're not adding how many Ruin Force stacks you have?
Wait, I think it's because Summoner has like 2 UI elements. They got the.
So does Samurai.
So does Samurai. You're right.
How come Yoshi just hates Summoner? He doesn't give us Eggy Glamours. He promises them to us for 8 years. Well, actually, they delivered on umbrellas after 20 years. So that's nice.
Why? Anyways,
dude, are you not happy about the umbrellas,
I just
Frosty?
don't care. It's like,
But they're
so
can get- it's like-
unimportant.
no, it's not. It's very important, Frosty. I can't believe you forgot to put the umbrellas in the show notes. The umbrellas
Okay.
are very important. We're gonna be.
It should be
getting
its
them
own
as
section.
drops. Yeah, we're gonna get them as drops. Like anywhere you get a mount, you could get an umbrella. You know, like Clear Ultimate, you get an ultimate umbrella. You know,
What?
do mentor roulette 5,000 times, you get a mentor roulette umbrella.
That's fine. It makes people happy. That's all I'll say. So it makes other people happy. That's fine. It's okay.
But what the fuck about the giving the meditate job gauge, but not the ruin 4 job gauge?
No, your place trash.
I think that's fair. That's fair.
Whatever.
I'm super happy about that. I like that meditate gets the stacks on.
Yeah, that's really nice, huh?
It needed to happen. It needed to happen.
I don't see a lot of information here on the job adjustments. Maybe I just didn't read into it as much. But I mean,
You didn't give that much detail.
That was like it. And Red Mage is getting buffed.
Mhm.
Flesh is getting some buff. Damage fall off.
I think the biggest buff to Red Mage is the change to the waymarks because people are going to die a lot more now. So you can get more value out of Ver Raise. I think that's the biggest buff to Red Mage. Everyone's going to die because they don't have moving waymarks to tell them where to go.
That's true.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
consider going Red Mage main.
I know Sphia is waiting for those Red Mage buffs. He's looking forward
Yeah,
to playing.
the other thing is with the Red Mage buff and the Summoner nerf to dots is if they nerf the dots too much and they just yo-yo back down to 40 potency, which would be really stupid. I hope they don't do that. But if they do, then Red Mage could do like the same damage as Summoner, and that would be dumb. So keep it a little bit below Summoner.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll
There's
see.
also Warrior adjustments. Does Warrior need adjustments right now? or-
Yeah, I think so. I think they need some love. I think they're good. I think Warriors are good right now, but it's just that like I kind of feel like they're the 4th best tank. Like the tanks are pretty well balanced, but it's just Warrior went from like the most popular tank to like by far the least popular tank like overnight. That's how I felt. And and I don't know. I don't even want to play Warrior right now. Like I just focus on the other 3 tank jobs. So and I think a lot of people feel that way.
Do you think Warrior is just kind of like boring? to me, Warrior just feels kind of boring compared to the other ones. Is that why you don't play it as much? Or
there are a few reasons. I mean, Warrior kind of wants a different gear set, I guess, than the other tanks, right? Because they need
That's
like
true.
a different amount of this stat or that stat. But besides that, I think a lot of people played Warrior because they wanted to play the tank that dealt the most damage. So then they just went and flocked to like Gunbreaker. So a lot of Gunbreakers are former Warriors who just wanted to do a lot of damage.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I almost feel like Warrior doesn't really have that niche anymore that the other tank jobs have. Like they're good at protecting themselves, but like people who want to do that, they'll just like play Dark Knight or something, right? So I don't know. I think Warrior could use a little bit of love.
Okay.
Mhm.
This is an interesting thing that maybe we should talk about. Fellowships can now be viewed in the companion app.
What? Cool.
I didn't
Does
know
anyone
people-
use those things, those
I
fellowships?
think maybe in Japan. I think that's the. Oh well, the fellowships. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to be
Well-
honest. I tried to mess with it, but didn't go too far with it.
I forgot that was added to the game.
Yeah.
In Japan, they're a little weird because in Japan they also use the forums. Like, well, okay, oh no, hold on, that's not what I mean. They use, hold on,
Official forums?
Sure, go ahead.
They use the blogging on the forums
Oh,
That's
like
true.
a lot. We don't do that.
We don't do that here.
Just different communities, really.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, they use Yahoo Answers also.
do they?
We just go to Reddit and ask questions.
All right. So other things, there's not too many things worth noting. I mean, there are things we can talk about. There's just not things that I will be able to really talk about because I don't have a passion at it. Maybe you guys have a passion for some of the things. For example, ocean fishing. Oh, that's kind of cool, but I don't think that I could talk about it very long. A lot of these different things. There's so much content. That's the thing. There's tons of content that I just will never touch.
The Relic.
I mean, there's Ruby Weapon. Okay, that's worth talking about.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think.
Ruby Weapon.
So that's actually going to be pretty cool to see Ruby Weapon into the game because then that starts the whole weapon series, I assume.
mm-hmm.
And
usually the primals they follow a pattern, right? A little bit.
somewhat, yeah, a story
Kinda
or
like
concept.
you had like in Heaven's Ward, you had like the Warring Triad, right? And then in Stormblood you have the lords, right? So maybe this is where they're going, and it makes sense because I was just like, there's no doubt that they're going to use this game to promote the FF7 remake. So if they're going to put FF7 into the game, FF7 things into the game, now's the time.
Okay.
And they've kind of gotten that ball rolling by sticking Ruby Weapon in, and I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's a good choice.
You guys going to get FF7?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's my favorite FF game.
We're going to get bombarded with FF7 stuff. Mark my words.
Probably.
We'll see.
Which isn't a bad thing.
I'm not opposed.
But yeah, I like FF7 a lot too.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The PlayStation Twitter tweeted about that meme of, if you don't deserve me at my original Ruby Weapon picture, you don't deserve me. Oh no, if you don't appreciate me at my, and then it showed original Ruby Weapon, you don't deserve me at my, and then it showed the 14 Ruby Weapon.
Oh, nice.
And that was the PlayStation Twitter, and everybody was replying to it being like, talking about FF7, and they were thinking that was going to be FF7. Like, no, this isn't 14.
Yeah. It's sad. 14 does kind of get, the treatment of like the game that some people know about and some people don't. But it is what it is. I mean, I'm going to be playing 7 mostly because my wife bought me the game for my birthday, or pre-ordered and paid for it and everything. So
you got to play it.
Yeah, so now I have to play. I mean, I got a new TV, so I can play it, right?
Nice.
But it looks like it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they do with this. I don't know what mechanics we can really expect from it. But they've done a good job on all the fights. Have they done any, well, besides Leviathan? Let's not talk about Leviathan. But I mean, most of the fights that they put out were pretty good fights, right?
I like Leviathan.
Okay.
I liked it too, but it was definitely, like I said, like different than what original like EX Leviathan was.
Mm-hmm.
It was boring
it was
to tank.
fine.
It was one of the most boring tank fights I've ever.
Oh, see, that's why you're biased.
Yeah, Eden was boring to tank in general, from what I've heard. Tate is like not impressed at all compared to like Ultimate.
Well, Titan was kind of fun to tank, I think. And I think
Titan's got some cool stuff.
Eden wasn't too bad. Eden was okay. Eden Prime, that is. And then Voidwalker, I thought was pretty nice. It wasn't bad. But
Voidwalker seems kind of fun to tank because of the positioning with all of the other weird mechanics. Yeah, that seems fun.
I feel like that should be a part of all fights, is that tanks have to figure out the right positioning and coordinate the boss appropriately. And that makes the fight more fun for tanks. And we only
I would
really
definitely
saw
say
that
the only one that's meh for tanking would be Leviathan, because you're not moving it.
Leviathan? Yeah, I guess you don't have to move it, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know, there's some neat tricks and stuff in that fight as tank. But
like what?
Yeah, no, I don't know. This like just like uptime things, like boring nerd uptime things. But I didn't even think Ultimate was like that interesting for tanks, because I feel like the first 2 phases were awesome, and then after that it's just like a big part of tanking is like managing your mitigation, and then you get to Ultimate, like the second half of Ultimate, which is supposed to be the hardest tier in the game. And then it's like, how do you deal with tech busters from that point forward? You either kitchen sink it with all your cooldowns, or you hit your invuln, and it's just like you don't have to use your brain to plan out. Okay, if I use Rampart here, it comes back up for this, and yada yada yada. It's just like, okay, I either kitchen sink it or invuln. It's like, okay, I don't have my invuln. You have your invuln. Okay, swap, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought some of that, and you didn't have to move the boss at all from Alexander Prime forward. So I hope they make the tanking. I hope they make tanking a little more involved. I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's go. We're gonna ask another question here. Oh, well, okay. Before we get into this question, I just thought about this. They are doing a secret trial. That's not really an extreme trial for the Relic
That's
quest,
for the Relic.
right? Yeah.
Relic.
Yeah. That's what I meant by it's going back to the first A Realm Reborn style of you have to do a quest and you fight a boss that's like almost extreme level.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. But
that's
I mean, we're gonna fight it once and be done. Because you're
that
not farming
for that
anything,
job.
so
they won't make it too hard then if it's tied with the relic, because a relic is supposed to be accessible to like anybody, right?
Yeah,
You don't have to actually know how to play the game.
it'll be like a dungeon boss. Is what I imagine.
No. They said it was a
difficult.
little less than extreme.
A little less than extreme. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be difficult.
What's a little though?
Like between hard and extreme. Like I would just imagine that. Like
so like Chimera and like Hydra, would that fit that description, or is that like a lot
Original
easier
Chimera and Hardra? Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would.
Because like we look back now and we're like, those fights are easy, but man,
Yeah.
Chimera used to just shit on
at the
it.
time. Yeah, at the time.
yeah.
Because you go in and you don't know what's going on happening. Then you get
Right.
blasted by the breaths and everything. Yeah.
Or like people standing in the middle. So like when you have to go to the middle for the fear, there was already puddles there.
Puddle. Oh my
So-
god. That's Hydra fucking. Oh
We
my
didn't have automatic waymark placement back then though, so that's probably why it was hard.
Yeah, that was so hard.
Drak, I'm going to take a second. What's up with you in that pin, dude?
I just wanted something to play with.
Oh,
while I
okay.
listened
Because
to
it was in
everybody.
your nose at the beginning
It
of the
was in
show.
your nose.
Yeah.
I can put it
Always
back
like
if you
eating
want.
it.
I don't mind.
Oh, my dear Lord. All right.
I didn't think it was distracting you that much, so I'll keep
No,
it
it's
there.
yeah, please. How do you think they will implement extreme solo duties in the future? Will gear drop? I don't know how to answer that question because I'm not sure what it's concerning. How do you think they
Extreme?
will implement the extreme solo duties in the future? What extreme solo duties did we have?
We don't.
Do we have any?
I don't think we have, unless you count like Palace of the Dead or something.
Maybe. You know, there is a good point to bring up a lot of this stuff too. We were talking about parsing and stuff, and I'm sorry if I feel like I'm just jumping topics here at the end of the show.
That's cool.
But there's a lot of things that just kind of come up. I'm like, oh, I wanted to talk about that. You know, with the whole parsing and ACT thing and everything, that's our competitive outlet for rating. We don't really have any other competitive outlet for rating, right?
Yeah, fishing's more competitive than raiding.
Fishing, crafting, PvP, Palace of the Dead, leaderboards, ranking, everything else, but rating. We're like, no,
it's not competitive, dude.
there's no competitive atmosphere for it. And
We have to make it.
do we feel
There's
like
the
that's
world race,
wrong?
and then
But
like
it's all community. It's all community based.
it's all community. It's all community. Yeah, there's
Not in
there's
the game.
there's a world race, and then as far as ACT and FF logs, there's like a niche community that like competes for like rankings on FF logs, and you know who can optimize the fight better, and you know who ran it more times to get better RNG or whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's that, but like honestly, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's just like, why is everyone so concerned that some other group use some aspect of ACT that like help them raid?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not in direct competition with them at all. Why are you so concerned that they had a slightly easier route to get the perfect legend title than you did, right?
Right.
And it's just like, man, ratings, like, it's not that competitive, so
But the thing
why do you
is,
even care?
there are people who are good at rating and they want to prove they're good at rating, and they have no outlet for that right now outside of what's their based in the
FF
community.
logs,
Right?
like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it just being cooperative.
Okay.
That's it's not competitive. It's what you're doing with your team, your friends. And
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But
It's a competitive ladder. There's like a win-loss record. You're playing against other players, and that's different, right?
I guess so.
You
so.
could
Like a
argue
high
that could lead to
score system or
yeah.
something.
You could argue that would lead to more toxicity as well.
So we
The
don't.
Okay.
competition. Anywhere there's competition, there's going to be toxicity and people.
Are crafters
affecting other
toxic?
players or whatever.
The crafters are toxic.
Are they toxic? Crafters? Is Palace of the Dead players toxic? Or like
I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure there are toxic crafters when they're talking about like people undercutting them and
Well, they'll corner the market. They'll
Yeah.
buy everything you're selling and then
Oh man,
resell it.
not only are they
they're
not
scary
only,
people.
man, they get really toxic. Two people undercut each other, and what they'll do is just like they'll ruin the market for the other person. And not only will they do that, but they'll find out where that person lives and craft that item like
And kill
in front of them on their front lawn as to undercut them. Like they get really petty, man. Those
Oh, man.
crafters, they can get pretty toxic towards you.
but they got a scoreboard.
Yeah, they got a scoreboard.
So I don't. Does that make things worse or better? I don't.
Whatever.
I don't know. I just feel like there should be something out there for raiders, because that's still the unique aspect of this game. That should have. I mean, it doesn't have to be like your normal raids. There could be different versions of them. I don't know. Anyways, we won't go too deep into that. There we go. We have third party questions here. Oh. This is a question which I think I know my answer on it, but I'll ask you guys. Would you guys prefer it if Square Enix gave out a list of third-party tools that are not supported by them per se, but probably not punishable by SE?
Leave it to what Yoshi said. Just
Exactly. Yeah.
let it go.
There's
Just
no
leave
way.
it. That's
I'm
why
trying
he
to
made
wrap my
his.
head
That's
around
why he made his statement.
Yeah.
He made it. That's it.
It has to be a blanket statement. They can't keep track of that kind of stuff.
Because then people will start pushing the line with like new stuff or whatever.
He can't
Everybody's
manage.
gonna argue with it.
Yeah, he can't manage third-party applications like from his end, like and what's okay and what's not okay. The only thing that he could do at that point would be like, here's our seal of approval on this third-party application that we have no control over, and they could put anything in that code and screw over so many people. No, there's just no way there could be a list like that he could.
So
Concepts he can talk about, but he can't talk about the actual applications.
Yeah.
So what did the question ask? Okay, so like third-party programs that are not allowed, but we're not like, but you're still able to use. Like
we're not supported, but are not bannable.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty much it.
I don't know. I think they just they just have to make that one blanket statement. It's just like, yo, mods not allowed. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And just take that stance, and it's up to the players to be like, you know what? Fuck the police. I'm gonna keep doing it anyway. But as long as you're not stupid enough to do something to get caught, like
right.
Posting nudies, like with your character's name on somewhere, or like shitting on somebody because of their parse, right?
Yeah, there's a statement I put in here, but I didn't say, like, maybe it's something like, smoking weed. No one really cares if you smoke weed or not. Just don't blow it in somebody's face, right? If they don't want it. You're not going over there and just saying, hey, here's all my porn. Enjoy it.
Can make that a donation goal to post nudes of my character.
Virtual bathwater from your character.
Yeah, gamer bathwater.
All right, I'm gonna do a.
My kids aren't coming over anymore, Larry. They're not allowed at your house.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, I'm going to do a giveaway for a $25 Mog Station item, guys, and we can work with you after the show about getting that to you real quick while we're doing these questions here. It's not raffle. I'm actually going to make it something, it's kind of close to emote. It's not the same thing I have, but...
you sure it's not raffle? I'm going to try.
You can go ahead and try it. But yeah, it's up to $25, and let me save it and run it, and hit the manage button. Where is it at?
I think it might be raffle.
It's not raffle.
Everybody else seems to be doing it.
It's MogChamp.
Larry.
It's MogChamp. If you type in MogChamp in here,
yeah, it's not MogChamp. It's exclamation point raffle.
You guys can't win. No,
yes,
type MogChamp in the chat, and you'll be entered in a $25 giveaway for Mog Station. Okay.
That's Moggers, dude.
Yeah, it is. I just want to say MogChamp. I don't know, because I felt like that was cooler to say. That's weird.
MogChamp.
Here we go. Here's a question. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Speed hacking black mages are Ungermax as examples. If a hacker exploits a bug and no one reports it, does it really matter?
Yeah. Ungermax? That mattered?
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah.
But here's the thing that goes into the conversation.
Question?
It's kind of a trick question, right? Because it's like, if it doesn't affect other people, does it matter?
What if you just go into you could just go into a duty finder, right? Okay, here's the scenario. You go into a duty finder for Hades normal mode, right? It's somebody's first time going through Shadowbringers. They queue up, they're brand new to the game, and they're fighting Hades for the first time. Some guy who's the perfect legend, he's glowing from head to toe, he's got a glowing weapon, he comes in and he goes /Ungermax and he kills the boss and the boss dies. And you go, oh, okay. And then you go and do the story. Does that kind of ruin the fight for you?
It does.
You didn't get to see the fight.
I'll have to put in Party Finder, no cheaters, right? And so
no Ungermaxers.
No Ungermaxers can come and do the fight with me.
I mean, from a game dev standpoint, they wouldn't want that in the game anyway because it's an exploit.
It is.
So
yeah,
wouldn't condone it. No, it doesn't affect me directly, but it probably shouldn't happen still.
But that's when it goes to... Go ahead.
If they set a precedent and they're just like, yeah, it's okay to exploit bugs as long as, the following criteria, apply. So it's just like, okay, one, it doesn't affect anybody. Two, nobody really noticed it. And so then, when people find a bug, they're going to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to do this bug, but don't tell anybody, okay? Because because it's okay to do as long as nobody knows about it, and that I highly doubt SE will ever take that stance that just like, yeah, if you do it, we're probably going to ban you, if you get caught or something.
Absolutely.
Isn't that what they did with the Ungermax thing? Is like, didn't they have to like scour chat logs to see who did it, and then they just went around and like, or did you actually have to be like
I don't know how they went
actually
to
report it? I have no idea, but I know a lot of people got banned and they didn't think they would, right?
Yeah.
Over it, so
Yeah,
they're just
people
like, I'm
got
surprised somebody banned. Like, I doubt each and every person who got banned got reported, right? But yeah,
we'll see. I mean, in this case, I think it falls into the line of messing with the integrity of the game, where you're messing with the fights being the difficulty they are. There's a limit. No, you can't just go in and cheese it. Of course, again, we go back to the scenario. Someone could just buy, a clear and have someone pilot their account and everything else. But then again, that's impossible to control, and there's nothing that we can do about it. In this case in particular, yeah, they want to avoid everything they can to get people to have bugs or abuse bugs in some way or fashion. Okay. Just remind you guys, type in MogChamp into the chat. Did I announce it again? Did it go? Yeah, there we go. And we'll be entered in $25 giveaway. What was that noise?
Oh, sorry, that was me. I dropped something.
Calm down, dude. I know you're excited about the giveaway and everything, but geez. Next question. Sorry, I'm going through all these tabs and everything, and I'm doing this with my hand kind of goofy. I'm trying my best.
What did you do to your hand?
I don't even know. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know.
Was it a freak masturbation accident?
Yes, we'll go with that.
Okay.
We'll go with that, absolutely.
Okay.
I was talking about the TV, right? And so we went and got a new TV, and I didn't feel it at the time, but shortly after, in some way, it felt like I strained my arm or my wrist or something afterwards. And it's just been in pain since. But when I picked it up, I didn't feel anything. I don't know if I just did it the wrong way or something. I don't know. But no, yeah, it's what you said. Absolutely.
Right.
Okay. What's the point of fellowships again? That's a good question. All right. What's the point of fellowships? Can you guys
to bring the ring to Mordor? That's what it is.
Okay. I mean, I don't see a need for it, but then again, that's just on our side of the world. We've seen that these concepts prove better in other sides of the world. I don't know if the JP side has people who enjoy fellowships and they make fellowships and it works out, but I don't see any point. It's just like an in-game message board, isn't it? Yeah?
Yeah. I forgot it was in the game, honestly. I did.
Okay, fair. Let's see. Tank changes? Nah, we don't care about tank changes. I guess I can ask this to you, Bach. What do you think tank changes are going to happen in 5.2? What are they doing?
What are they doing?
Yeah.
They said they're just buffing Warrior, right?
The notes I have say...
They said they're changing Warrior.
Adjustments.
Warrior? Adjustments, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even give it any thought whatsoever. What's wrong with Warrior anyway? I just think Warrior is fine. They just have they just don't really have much of an identity, and I don't know what they're gonna do. I have no idea. I'm really excited to see what they come up with.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like I'm setting myself to get let down if I expect anything other than potency buffs, right? But yeah, we'll see. I have no idea.
Here is a question. This is in regards to PvP, so I'll answer it. Considering Yoshi P's most recent stance against third-party tools, would Discord for PvP be considered cheating now? And this is going into concept of queuing up solo queue by yourself and being on a team where people know each other and they get in a voice chat when the other team is not in a voice chat. Would that be considered cheating? Yeah, it's cheesy and stupid. There's nothing you can do to control it. But I mean, the PvP community is so small that you know everybody that's in the match. So if you want it to, you can. But if someone was like, "Hey, Frosty, we're in the same team. Let's get in voice chat," I'd be like, "Fuck you. I don't care." It just feels like it puts the other team at a disadvantage, and I just leave it. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, being from the outside point of view from it. Don't care.
I mean, when I played games like League or something, I was fine with being in a chat with other people.
Yeah,
But I mean, they all had access. Everyone in there had access to getting into some sort of application to talk to each other.
Yeah, I mean, but people can still solo queue.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, everybody has access to Discord. The league didn't have its own chat or anything. Like,
okay.
it's available to everybody. If they solo queue, that is already much different than pre-made.
Right.
So you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage just having that extra thing. I don't think people should be shamed for talking to each other because they queue up. All
right. Well, we won't go into that too much because there's only 2 people in the chat that care about it.
You said that's so sad.
I am, dude. I am so bitter right now.
The thing with PvP is that I want to care about it.
I know everybody does. Everybody does. And the thing is, Square Enix, all they would have to do is do a good job.
Yeah.
Right?
I love PvP in like all games. So I want to like it.
Right. I like PvP. I like Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Well, if they could make PvP in Final Fantasy 14 something I would like, that'd be great.
Right.
But
yeah.
And so it sucks because I want to support it all the time. I want to do everything positive for it, but we've been so like in the dark about everything, and so it's like we feel like a kid, like someone like when parents are driving somewhere and you're like yelling, and they're like, if you don't shut up, I'm gonna you kick you out and drive off, and they kicked us out and drove off and never came back. That's what it feels like right now. And so,
like even like during like the media tour when like. We were like, wait, so where's the PvP stuff? Like, so when are you gonna talk about PvP for Shadowbringers?
We're the box of abandoned kittens that were set on the side of the road right now. I don't know. Anyways, we're going to do one more question before we do the giveaway. So let me remind everybody to give away stuff for people who didn't have a chance yet to type it in. MogChamp in the chat, and then you can get a $25 Mog Station item, and I'll get with you after the show. Now, last question here before we do that. If an in-game parser would lead to toxicity, what methods would you choose to promote more information being available to the player on their performance or skill? So implementation that's official in the game that wasn't a parser that wouldn't lead to text
at the end.
Yeah, at the end have a parser.
Yeah. At the end of the duty, it just goes, "You were shit," or it says, "Good job, you got some gold medals."
A rank stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think in Stone Sky Sea, they should have a few more tools just for tips. They don't have to tell you how much damage you're doing, but they should be helping players know what's better, because there is a wrong way to play your classes. There is. Yoshi can't argue that. People can play however they want. Yes, they have that freedom. You don't pay their sub, but there is a wrong way to play classes. That's why they have rotations. It's not Monster Hunter. It's not action RPG. It's rotation-based RPG. So they can say...
Tab target rotation.
Yeah. Hey, you let your dots fall off. Try to make sure that you have this. Remember that if you use, say, Sharpcast, you'll have that up for that. Or
stop dropping your dots, idiot.
Yeah, if you already have dots up, maybe you should think about your Fire 3 proc and stuff like that. And these are your instant casts, and sometimes you want to use them at this point. Like just something to give some better idea of how do you improve, because otherwise the game is doomed to be in this kind of perpetual people can't get better. Unless because the casual player isn't going to download ACT because they're afraid of getting banned. And obviously they probably aren't.
PS4 players can't even do it if they want to.
Yeah. So I think that that one is a really good opportunity to help people out. But they're basically saying, can you kill this? But if you can't, they don't. That's it. You just failed. You don't know what to improve on. You don't know what you did wrong. It's useless. It's completely useless.
Isn't that like not a bad thing in its own right? Because that forces you to talk to people and communicate and find things and be part of a community that helps you improve. I mean, is that like...
The game should tell you how to play the game.
I mean, it kind of does.
I totally agree.
It kind of does when you go over...
But to a greater extent. It doesn't do enough to prepare a raider for success.
Yeah.
But for rotations, it's pretty straightforward. It says so on the tooltip. It's like, this is what the ability does. Right?
Okay, so the thing that I think is the problem here is that the dev team doesn't want to make people feel bad for being bad at the game, right? So they don't want to be like, you did this wrong, because they're worried that somebody would be like, oh, I'm bad, I just want to stop playing the game then. So they don't want to make people feel bad. So what if they
Then
did
why
like
doesn't everybody win first place in chocobo races?
Right, exactly. So you're right, actually. That's a good point.
Okay.
Well, because chocobo
good.
racing isn't the game, Frosty. That's just a little part.
When are we getting chocobo racing updates so I can have a show on it? Anyways,
You're right.
good.
We need that. But you know what Overwatch does is at the end, you know how it kind of does. It gives you gold medals, and you feel good. You got the gold medals, but then you look at the medals and you're like, oh, I was on DPS. I didn't get a gold medal for any kind of damage thing. I just got gold medal for dying the most. And it's like, oh, I feel kind of bad now. It's like, you did bad, even though all you got was gold medals. They could do that. They'd be like, you got the most deaths. You raised the most. No.
So
you took the most damage.
So like a stat board of like the person who rezzed the most people here, healed the most, did the most damage.
Yeah.
The person who died the least. I don't.
That's it. Okay. You don't get a medal. Like if you don't see a medal that you did good damage, that means you did crap.
Okay. All right,
So-
Bach, go ahead.
If I didn't do a good job, if I sucked at this game and my damage was shit and everything, and I felt bad because of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the solution to that? To hide the fact, to conceal the fact from me that I did bad, or to give me a means to do good next time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's their view.
It makes no freaking sense. Like the game doesn't teach you how to do anything, and I think their idea is that players should rely on each other to learn from each other. But I honestly think if you look at the numbers values on the Stone Sky Sea thing, obviously those things are tuned on on the condition that people are doing their rotations correctly, right? So that tells me that the devs are aware of the proper rotation for each job. That's how they tune the bosses, that's how they tune these dummies, right? So why can't they just teach them to the players? It's like, you kind of have like a novice hall, or it's just like, okay, can you press these buttons in this order on this dummy? And as soon as you mess it up, it's like, oh, you messed up. Can you do it again? And then, that and then it teaches you how to do an opener, right? Something so simple like that. It's just like,
Well,
if somebody doesn't want to learn, they're not going to learn.
True.
I don't know. I feel like the
Fair
game
enough,
does
yeah.
enough to teach you.
So to expand upon that, so they make that for every single job. Now they make job changes. Now they have to go back and change that. And the amount of development resources that would go into that, I think, might be a little bit more.
Why do they have to change the jobs?
Not. Why do they? Well, if something's not balanced, they change the job. They give it a different.
Yes, but that's going to happen regardless. It doesn't mean if
they have
people
to change
know how
the
to
content. Then they have to go back and go and redo the thing that teaches you again.
If it's like if they change the way the job works, like this is so broken we can't be there anymore, then we have to change it later on.
I wouldn't change how the jobs work. It's just a matter of the things that are already in place, explaining them a little bit better. Things like Stone Sky Sea, you have to queue into. Like you're already going in there to see if you're good enough for it. So in that circumstance, I think that it would only make sense to give people tools and resources or hints as to maybe things that they've overlooked. Like, I think it's funny that Larry brought up the Ruin 4 stacks. I didn't even know they existed on Summoner. I thought you just had to use them right away. Like, oh no, I'm going to overcap.
They just stay.
Yeah, I didn't know though. Like, I'm not paying attention, or it's different from what I used to. Like they already changed their job pretty substantially. So it's like just things like that would help. And it's also a matter of framing, because something that is meant to be a reward can be seen as a punishment pretty easily, just based on how you get it. Like, I don't know how to say. So PvP rewards, you rank first, you rank your highest ranking, you get that mount, or top 100, you get that mount, you get that armor. Now everybody's like, well, now I'm punished for not playing PvP. That's not fair. I'm not getting that. Why don't I get that? Like, that is still a mentality that can happen. But it depends on how you present it in certain ways.
Yeah. I mean, it's, God, that makes me so mad. Okay. Anyways, let's draw somebody. Let's draw somebody. Who won? You guys, you might like Zero Tusky. You guys don't know them, right?
Zero Tsuki.
Zuki, you know him?
Suki.
Zero Zuki?
No, I'm just reading it because it's Japanese.
Well, I was thinking about this because Zero Zuki has a Yorha image for their avatar, and so I figured Larry would appreciate that a good bit. So I see him typing already in chat. So I will get with you after the show in Twitch Whispers, and we will figure out how to get you your $25 Mog Station item. All right. So not rage-inducing topics here. To kind of close out the last bits of the show.
Why are you getting mad at that?
Because PvP is such a sore subject for me right now. It is.
Poor
man.
Frosty.
It's just like I won't. Anyways,
I feel for you.
let's see. This is actually a question I kind of want to end on because I feel like this is a decent one here. You guys have been playing this game for a while. You guys have multiple patches, tons of patches you've gone through, and we're at this point where we're seeing kind of a direction that Final Fantasy XIV is going. At least right now it is. Throughout your life cycle with Final Fantasy XIV and everything else, does this patch and everything, the direction that they're taking right now, support why you got into the game, and are you happy with the direction they're taking it? Kind of big question, I guess.
That is a big question. Overall, the direction they're going?
Yeah.
I would say I like the direction they're going. Like, really, the only thing that's kind of different that's coming out this patch is their direction of Relic. And like I said before, I'm a big proponent of however they choose to go about doing Relic really does set the tone for the expansion, at least in my view. Because I think the Relic is really big content-wise for the general populace of the game. Like, a lot of people do it, casuals and hardcore people do it. So whatever it is that they choose to do with it kind of influences everything else too. And for at least from what I've seen of what they're doing with the Relic, it's probably the most excited I've been of a Relic step ever. So
okay.
Like, pretty much every other Relic step has kind of just been like, oh, okay, I'll do it. But this one, I'm actually like, this is exciting. So that direction is good. And then the Eden raids have been really good too. So I think overall the direction has been pretty good.
So I mean, like, you see the patch notes and you're like, I'm happy. This is good. Final Fantasy XIV is doing exactly what I was hoping they would do years ago, going forward in that direction.
Yes. A few things I would be missing. Like, this is the first 0.2 patch that we haven't had a Hildebrand. That's one thing that I would be like, okay, that's missing. And I guess also the thing about like how we're only having one dungeon a patch now, and I'd want to see the return of that in the content, and hopefully the Relic step has enough going into it that justifies missing the dungeon, but that we'd have to wait to see.
Yeah,
for that.
Dog was a little bit angry at your response there. Bach, I'll go with you next. So kind of your thoughts too. Are you pretty happy with the direction of patches and everything that we're seeing so far?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I mean, everybody has a laundry list of stuff they want, right, in the game, and then, but for the most part, I think they've kind of found their formula. When the majority of the content I do is raid content, right? Like raid, and everything else is kind of like on the side. They've kind of found their formula with Savage. You got the 4 fights, and the difficulty they've tuned the difficulty. They have it where they want it, right? And then you get the 4 fights. 3 months later, you get an ultimate fight, and then after that, 3 months after that, you go back to Savage, and then that formula. I think it's good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I would not say no to them dropping like freaking 8 bosses on us for Savage and be like, go nuts, right? Because that would give us so much content to do. But maybe that's just not realistic. I know a lot of people are not happy with the lulls in the patch cycle, but I don't know. Me personally, I feel like the patch cycle, it's such a way that I can prog Savage, right, and then learn jobs in in Party Finder, prog it with other groups, take friends who don't really raid and try to get them into the content. Ultimate rolls around, do Ultimate with my group. After that, form a second group and try to teach people how to do that. And by the time we're done that, the next patch goes around. I mean, there's plenty of content for me to do. So I'm pretty satisfied. I know there are people out there who are just like, there's not enough content in this game. It doesn't come out fast enough.
There's
But
so
me
much
personally,
content. It's just not.
I think it's just fine. It's just not the shit that you want, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm pretty satisfied.
Yeah, you will never run out of stuff in Final Fantasy 14 to do. If you're like, I just want to do a 100% achievement on Final Fantasy 14 with every single bit of content and do it all, you just can't. There's just too much. It's too much. But I do want to bring this up before I get to you, Drak, because Larry, you're talking about the relic step and everything else. How do you feel about Ivalice being a requirement to it?
Oh, I think that's kind of just story wise. Like some of the characters are going to be there, and themes and stuff is going to be related to that. So I think that's why it's like that. I didn't really care about the Ivalice story, mostly because I didn't play 12, so it didn't really. It wasn't something that I cared about personally, but I respected that it was, the guy who made who wrote the story for 12 wrote the story for the Ivalice raid. So like I respect that, but it wasn't something that I was interested in.
Right.
But I'm interested in the fact that it's going to be about the Bosja Citadel, which had to do with Dalamud. So I'm cool with that.
Okay. All right. I thought it was kind of interesting that they put that in there, putting a 24-man raid behind a relic step. Seems kind of odd, but
well, it's weird, but like it's also not weird for our game because our game is so much into story and lore that if they are gonna reference things from another part, they're gonna be like, oh, you have to do this, So
no,
can't believe they're locking content behind
content. Drak, so your thoughts, direction, and when I say it is again extremely broad. It could be direction about story, whatever you care about. Are you happy with the direction they're taking it?
I think they're trying really hard, and I think they're making good strides at least in terms of like the story and the background and how deep it's going and what they're adding to it. They did say that even what they covered in the live letter isn't all of what is going to be happening and what the content is going to be. I like that they're slowly but surely giving more content towards other parts. So I think Crafters and Gatherers is just long overdue. They still need to catch up on PvP. But I mean, I kind of liked the lull because it gave me a chance to enjoy Monster Hunter and Temtem a bit and just catch up on everything else and enjoy my time to get other content out. Spend some actual time in Ultimate. That was fun. So yeah, I like the direction they're going. I hope they continue to get the support from the overall corporation, the company,
Square Enix.
That they that they continue to get recognized and get the resources they need to do it, and then they make good use of it.
Yeah. I mean, you guys all have extremely good opinions on this, and I agree. I feel like they're making and they're expanding on things they want to make right now, and a lot of people are getting a lot of content that they might have not been used to getting before. I just hope that wave goes back to me. I feel like maybe some people will treat Stormblood as something that was really big for PvP, but there's a lot of issues that came in Stormblood from all that. But that being said, I guess we can go ahead and start wrapping the show up here. I do have one thing I want to just make everybody aware of. So the World Race, I always do my little piece with that. It is coming up within about a week and a half. There is a lot of really interesting developments that are coming up, and I really hope you guys are paying attention and maybe following my Twitter, because I'll be talking about it when it starts to become more public information as well. But the Savage Race is going to be pretty interesting to see this year for a lot of reasons that aren't exactly because of Final Fantasy 14, but because of outside stuff. So that being said, let's go ahead and do our final bits here, kind of where people can find you and everything else. And so I'm going to start same direction we went this time. I'm going to go with Larry. Larry, could you tell everybody where they can find you if they care to hear more about the things you do?
I'm Larryzaur on everything, so you could find me on. I'm on Twitter a lot, on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch. So whenever I'm working on basically Samurai right now, it's been taking me over a month, but I'm working on it, so that'll be soon. And then stream on Twitch and stuff. So I'll see you guys around.
All right. Bach, your closing bits here where people can find you and so on.
Yeah. Bok Choy Can once again is my handle for Twitch and Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter. You can always get updates on what kind of socks I'm wearing.
You
Twitch.
like used to never use Twitter at all. It's completely changed. Go ahead.
Yeah, and as far as content goes, I said I'd stream more and write more, but kind of started this, like, especially this year, but kind of started a new job this year, so I was kind of focused on that. But now that's kind of behind me. I'm gonna try to stream more. I'm gonna try to put out more content. I like to write, so I'm probably gonna put out some articles and stuff, strategy stuff for the next year. So yeah, you can look forward to that.
Okay. And Drak.
Name's right below my face on Twitch. Drak Gamesting on YouTube, and Drakanous on Twitter as well. So that's where most of my stuff is.
All right. Awesome. And guys, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show again. You guys are always favorites of mine.
Thanks for having us.
Everyone that comes on the show
thanks,
is my
man.
favorite, of course.
Thank you, Frosty.
Yeah, man, no problem, dude. And Eva said I could have you for at least one more show, so
Yeah. she likes to bust your balls.
Jesus Christ, every single time. But that being said, I do want to go ahead and put my appreciation out there to everybody watching the show today. You guys have been great for coming in and checking everything out. I do want to give my appreciation to any mods in the chat helping out. I saw Eva doing some work, which is really awesome. I wasn't expecting that. And then I want to thank my wife, of course, for supporting me and hearing me yell and everything in the room over while I do this podcast. And my animals, who are probably scared under a desk every time I do get too excited. And thank you very much, Andre Kane, for the music in the intro and the closing. Thank you very much, Blazana, for the artwork I do on the show. And I do want to announce, again, one thing. In the future, MogTalk is going to be a little bit more staggered out. It's not going to be every single Saturday. It will be when it's most relevant to have a show and when I have the availability due to work and school. But we do have maybe another type of podcast coming up at some point that is kind of like MogTalk, but instead of just being focused on Final Fantasy 14, it'll be focused on everything, and that's when something comes out and I want to talk about it, but it doesn't fit the MogTalk standard. So, for example, we might be having a Doom chat at some point when Doom comes out and I want to talk about it. But we'll see how that works. It's all in the building phase right now of thoughts and so on. But that all being said, you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. Bach, you're typing all over what I'm saying right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you. Thank you. You guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. Be good. Keep cool. Stay frosty. And everybody say bye and wave and smile.
Stay frosty, smile.
Bye.
Okay, hold on. I got to mute us. I can do it.